I am President Emily Stevens and call this regular board meeting of April 9th, 2026 to order. The time is 5 o'clock. I would like to remind everyone to silence your electronic devices. Before we do the salute, I'd like to introduce our folks doing the presenting the colors. It'll be Palo Verde High School's JROTC, Cadet First Lieutenant Silberis, Cadet Senior Master Sergeant Lua, Cadet Senior Master Chan, Cadet Senior Airman DeLacy, and their instructor, United States Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Joshua Logie. Trustee Barone, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Before I open up 1.02, is there anyone who did not get a chance to complete a public speaker card? Great. Okay, can I get a motion to approve the agenda? Trustee Biasotti.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, members of the board, I would like to make a motion to adopt the agenda and the addendum with the following change. Revised reference material has been added for item 2.01, student reports, added item 1.01, unified personnel employment.
Thank you. Can I get a second? Trustee Henry.
I'll second.
Thank you. Let's vote. Trustee Bustamante Adams, yea or nay?
Yay.
Trustee Cavazos, yea or nay?
Yay.
Trustee Esparza Staffordgan, yea or nay? Oh, I'm sorry. Trustee Zamora, yea or nay?
Yay.
Thank you. Motion passes. All right. Now we will open 2.01. This is not an action item. Student reports.
Madam President and members of the board, Kirsten Sear for the record. Tonight, we are proud to continue our new tradition of starting our meetings with student board reports. And I'd like to brief CSN High School East, unfortunately, was unable to be with us tonight, so we will reschedule a student from that school. But tonight, we are pleased to welcome our next student presenter from Legacy High School, representing Trustee Dominguez from District B, and Trustee Barone from North Las Vegas. He's excited to share a few highlights about his school community. Please join me in welcoming our student speaker, Caden Habig.
Greetings, Board of Trustees and Superintendent Ebert. For the record, my name is Caden Habig, and I am a 12th grade student attending Legacy High School in North Las Vegas. I would love to share with you just some of the amazing things happening on Legacy High School's campus. In recent years, Legacy High School has transitioned from its original designation as a global studies school and has become a college and career readiness academy, specializing in many different programs that include enhanced dual credit availability and many different CTE courses. Just to name a few dual credit programs, we have English 101 to 102, Math 126 to 127, and other elective courses such as music appreciation, psychology, and sociology. We are also set to launch a science program in the upcoming year, and these are just a handful of the 18 different courses that we offer. In a similar fashion, we also offer 12 CTE programs and have over 1,600 kids participate in them each year, earning their CTE endorsements to move them closer to a college and career readiness diploma. In the most recent academic year, Legacy's graduating class was the highest in school history, with a 92.4% graduation rate and 672 graduates. And this year's graduating class has the highest ACT average in school history. Concluding school achievements, Legacy High School recently held its first ever academic letter ceremony, highlighting juniors and seniors for their academic accomplishments, during which approximately 125 students were recognized. Legacy is also home to some of the best performing arts in the northern part of the valley, being the only one to have 7 different performing arts programs, including the newly formed mariachi, plus orchestra, band, guitar, choir, dance, and theater, and recently performed on the state level in almost all of them. Legacy High School has the 3rd largest band in the state, for which we earned a superior rating in this year's festival. We also encouraged our middle school theater students to participate in their performing arts by hosting a pre-fest, bringing them to our school to play festival songs for an actual judge in guitar, orchestra, band, and choir. For a winter concert this year, we also had the first ever large-scale collaboration from guitar and orchestra, performing Christmas Eve in Saraveo with the top students from both programs. We also just hosted our interdepartment concert between guitar, orchestra, and band for intermediate students who don't quite participate at the festival level, but are still capable of performing in a concert for the 3rd quarter. To conclude our performing arts sector for the year, we have shifted our theater schedule to include 2 large productions, a 1-act, student-directed festival with 2 plays and 1 musical. Legacy is also home to over 35 different clubs and activities that are on campus and in the community, with an incredibly diverse population establishing themselves within these clubs and making their own ones, like the Asian Pacific Islander Club, among others. Some of these highlights include our FCCLA program, having 2 students qualify for nationals. Our Army JROTC leadership recently attended the JCLC camp in California and received multiple awards in their time there. On top of this, Legacy High School has recently been named a Purple Star School. This designation is given to schools that recognize and support military students and families. Our National Honor Society has also held a clothing drive this year for Shade Tree, in which we collected 46 large bags of clothing, which was, as stated, one of the largest clothing donations that they have received. Many clubs offered community service too, such as the Red Cross Club, which provided at least 40 hours of service every semester to children's hospitals around the valley. And very recently, students from the softball and guitar programs both volunteered at the Revel Marathon. Rounding out the club highlights, our DECA program held a career fair in which 800 students participated, with 40 businesses and 6 colleges attending, and over 150 students participating in on-site job interviews. As for our academic athlete programs, we have had multiple state qualifiers in boys basketball, girls volleyball, and boys and girls soccer, as well as multiple wrestlers, including a state champion, an individual runner-up in girls bowling, and the girls bowling team going to state. We have also had division champions in boys soccer, girls volleyball, boys basketball, and are expected to have them in softball, boys golf, and boys volleyball for the spring season. Lastly, leading by example, 2 Legacy High School administrators have become doctors, and our school's athletics administrator won the Nevada State NADA Athletics Administrator of the Year award. Thank you so much for listening to all that we have to offer at Legacy High School. Thank you to everyone that is here supporting me. And in the words of Dr. Morentik, who is also here, yesterday is the past, tomorrow's the future, but today is a gift. That's why it's called the present. Make it a great day or not, the choice is yours.
Thank you so much, Kaden. And I'd also like to recognize one of the doctors on Legacy's administrative team. Dr. Morentik is here this evening to support Kaden, and so is his mom, Tammy.
Thank you, Kaden. Just so you know, and everybody else in the room knows, we have, what we'll do for discussion is I'll open it up to the trustees that are here, and then we actually have 4 trustees on the line, so we'll open it up to them after. Trustee Dominguez.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you so much for Kaden for coming. First, I want to thank Mom for coming in too, and I saw you smiling and taking pictures, so she's very proud of you up here. And thank you, just everyone for supporting him. I want to know, Kaden, if you could look back and talk to freshman Kaden, what would you say to him, and how would you advise him for his next 4 years?
If I had to give him one piece of advice, I'd probably say focus a lot more on your academics and the things that you participate in, because I mean, I kind of took a lot of them for granted. I was in robotics for 3 years, and this year it didn't happen. Like, weren't able to run it. So I would definitely tell them to just focus a lot more on the things that you can do right now, because might not be able to do them later on. So, yeah.
Awesome. I love that. Take advantage of everything. Thank you so much for coming.
Okay, I don't see anybody else in the queue here. Trustee Bustamante Adams, do you have anything?
No questions.
Thank you. Trustee Cavazos?
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, having a little bit of a problem over here. Caden, so sorry. Trustee Cavazos here, so sorry I can be there in person. We are over here at the NSBA conference in San Antonio. We wish we could be there to hear your fabulous presentation. I noticed that you gave a very robust description of all of your of all the different programs at Legacy, and I couldn't help noticing your very impressive Letterman's jacket, and I believe it says tennis and golf, and I was wondering if you could tell about how how sports and the extra programs at Legacy have really enriched your high school experience.
So for my sports, primarily tennis and golf, but this year bowling, which is not on the jacket yet. But from all of them, really, they've given me a lot. I've made so many friends through high school sports. I mean, a lot of the kids are just really nice, and they're very welcoming, especially when you actually like talk to them, and it's really fun to be able to, like, every season I get like a new group of people that I get to hang out with, and it's really made me a much more social person from who I was freshman year. I've definitely a lot of people would say I'm very different from who I was freshman year, and a large part of that is because of the sports that have brought me to be a more social person. So
Thank you so much, Caden, and we're going to need to get that bowling emblem on that jacket pretty soon, right?
Thank you. Trustee Esparza Stafford, do you have anything?
Hi, Kaden. This is Trustee Esparza Stafford again. We're sorry we could not be there in person because we are in Texas. I'm looking at your impressive, like, mini bio, and you're so eclectic with sports, and you're in Guitar Council. You know, over 100 songs. You're snowboarding, go karting. But what I'm fascinated to know, and I'm always curious, is you are planning to pursue your degree in mechanical engineering. Like, with all of what you do, how did you decide on that path?
I looked at everything that I've done, and I looked at the things that I've enjoyed the most, and I really do enjoy all my sports and everything that I do. But looking at it from a large perspective and what I've heard from other people in engineering, which is really what I would love to do as a job in the future, is that engineering is a very rigorous thing to do in college, and it has pushed me to the direction of simply just pursuing mechanical engineering, because it is something that I really want to focus on and make sure that I have secured for my future. So it is definitely, mechanical engineering was definitely just the thing that stuck out most to me, and then everything else I know I'm still very capable of doing on the side, so.
Thank you, Kaden. And here's a fun question. Out of those 100 songs, what's the one that you like to play the best? Thank you.
Probably Are You Mine by Arctic Monkeys, but that's just my favorite.
Great choice. Thank you. No further questions.
Trustee Zamora?
Thank you, Kaden, for your presentation. I have no questions.
And then Trustee Barone is on the queue, so go ahead, sir.
Well, the problem is, I should get into the queue a bit earlier, because it looks like the two other trustees kind of like poached my questions there. I'm shaking my fist furiously at them, right? Hey, Caden, I did notice, so you're a 3-year letterman. Yeah, a lot of people, they don't even know what the bars mean anymore, right? I thought the 3, you're supposed to have all 4 bars, aren't you, if you're a 4-year letterman? Mom's going ahead and she's kibitzing over here, a 4-year.
Yeah, so the 3 bars is the extra years, and then the first pin is for the first year, so you get the letter.
Things are a little bit different, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Things are that's cool. I get it. Maybe Barone needs to get with the new goodness here. So my question was going to be about talking about discussing the nexus between sports and your achievement, but we're way past that. Well, look, mechanical engineering, that's really important. Quite frankly, we need engineers. But the reality is that you're probably going to go to school and you'll probably be doing some job that you never thought that you were going to be doing before you ever did that. And that's nothing wrong with that, right? One of our city managers, she started off as being a bioengineer, went into civil engineering. Then before she knew it, she was there in theater leadership and then became our city manager. So you just never know where you're going to go. So if you were to make a prediction, there's a good one. Where's the place that you are least likely to wind up being 10 years from now?
If I was to say least expected to wind up, I mean, probably doing something, this is going to sound crazy, but probably doing something sports related because I thoroughly enjoy participating in them and, like, I guess watching them much more than I do actually, like, running them. Like, when I've found myself running some sports events and, I find myself like, man, I really want to go out there and do that. So it's like the one thing I really don't think I could, probably like running sports, stuff like that.
You heard it here, folks. He's going to be an attorney. He'll be a sports agent. Fantastic.
Seeing there's no one else in the queue, Caden, thank you so much for spending your evening with us and answering all of our questions. You did phenomenal. Thank you. Okay, before I open the consent agenda, is there anyone who did not get a chance to get a public speaker card or turn in a public speaker card? Okay. With that, we'll open the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
Move to approve. Oh,
Trustee
yeah,
Barone.
Sorry, but I just, I'm sorry. I had a flashback from the RTC thing earlier today. Please forgive me, Madam Chairwoman. Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve it.
Thank you, sir. Do I have a second? Trustee Johnson.
I'll second.
Thank you. Let's vote. Trustee Bustamante Adams.
Yay.
Trustee Cavazos. Did we lose her? Is she on? Trustee Cavazos? Trustee Zamora?
Aye.
Trustee Cavazos?
Yay.
Got it. Thank you, team. Motion passes. All right. Trustee Dominguez will now read the warrants.
Thank you, Madam President. Ratified warrants as listed in bills payable, transmittal, and the board memorandum number 162526 in the amount of $165,062,577.46. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Dominguez. Before I open 4.01, any public comment cards? Awesome. All right, let's open 4.01, Notice of Intent, Clark County School District Regulation 5129.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Ebert. For the record, I am Kevin McPartland, the Associate Superintendent of the Education Services Division. I'm joined this evening by Kristen Grimm, our amazing Director of Student Activities. We are here to provide notice of intent to amend Clark County School District Regulation 5129, titled High School Graduation Ceremonies. As you may recall, Regulation 5129 was adopted by this board in March of 2025. I'd like to take a quick moment to thank our principal representatives, region leadership, our Office of General Counsel, and members of the district's extended leadership team for providing input and feedback in refining these recommendations. This truly was a team effort. The reference material for item 4.01 outlines the proposed deletions and additions to the regulation. Madam President, with your permission, I will hand it over to Ms. Grimm for the presentation.
Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Ebert. For the record, Kristen Grimm. Overall, the regulation was reviewed. The language was added to define keywords, provide clarity and consistency within the pre-approval process, clarify the types of permissible graduation regalia, and list the types of graduation regalia that are not permitted, as is consistent with the First Amendment and Nevada law. You will find most of the adjustments in Section 2, E, and F. Section 2 provides information on student attire for graduation ceremonies. Students must comply with the CCSD dress code and wear the cap and gown selected by the school. In addition, Nevada Revised Statute 388.915 states that students may wear traditional tribal regalia or recognized objects of religious or cultural significance as adornments to their cap and gown. Students are also permitted to wear other regalia in accordance with the regulation. Section 2D provides the number of stoles that may be worn and the specifications for decorations and adornments on the cap and gown. Section 2E is where you'll see most of the revisions to the regulation. Letter E sets forth the permissible restrictions to graduation regalia. Decorations, adornments, regalia, and other items brought to the ceremony may not be lewd, obscene, vulgar, profane, promote violence, promote the use of illicit drugs, constitute harassment, bullying, or discrimination, or create a substantial disruption to the graduation ceremony, as is consistent with the First Amendment and the NRS 388.915. Section 2E also adds definitions of harassment, bullying, and discrimination that are consistent with other CCSD documents. Section 2F was also revised to clarify that the pre-approval process is not mandatory. Rather, the regulation establishes a process to strongly encourage that graduates submit regalia, decoration, or adornments on the cap and gown to the school principal or designee for review and approval at least 20 days prior to the graduate's ceremony. The school principal or designee will make a decision within 10 school days, consulting with the Deputy of Teaching and Learning or his designee before denying a request. Should the item ultimately be denied as part of the pre-approval process, the school principal or designee will notify the graduate in writing. This provides graduates with an avenue to appeal the decision in accordance with NRS 388.915. If a graduate arrives at the ceremony wearing regalia that has not been pre-approved, the administration will review the regalia at the venue site. If the regalia falls within the restrictions set forth in Section 2, letter C to E, the student may be required to remove the item. The decision of the school administration is final, and there will not be time before the ceremony for the graduate to seek an appeal under NRS 388.915. The denial will be recorded, and documentation will be sent to the Deputy of Teaching and Learning. Sections 2 through 7 were not revised. Thank you for this opportunity to share the proposed amendments regarding Clark County School District Regulation 5129, high school graduation ceremonies. At this time, we will pause and take questions from the board.
Thank you. I'm going to open it up for discussion. Trustee Biasotti.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you for your presentation. I did have a question on 2E and the definitions that would fall under items that are not allowed on the regalia. Would political messages or those types of things be allowed?
Political speech would be permitted as long as they did not fall into those same restrictions. They weren't vulgar, they weren't profane, they weren't discriminatory, bullying, all of the same, the list of, that's on that part of it. As long as they didn't fall within that, they could wear the political speech.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Dominguez.
Thank you, Madam President. I might as well go. I usually let my colleagues go first, but I'll go since we're here. I wanted to ask, I know this was asked during the briefing as well, and we're going to have a lot of parents coming to us. The lays with money and the lays that also are on the hat or the cap, how are those being handled? And as far as making sure that once somebody from the school administration sees them, how are we making sure that that money doesn't get lost?
It's a great question. So anything on top of the cap is not permitted. So the cap has to remain flat. So that takes care of that one concern. So everything has to be below that cap. As far as the lays themselves, money lays are a thing. We see it quite often. So we've spoken with the school staff, and to communicate with students now, do not bring money to the ceremony. It becomes a safety issue. So what we have asked the school is tell the students now we know that they may still come with those types of things. So at that point, we're at the point of entry for the graduate. They're carrying their cap and gown with them, so it's not on. But once the student goes through and is going into the venue, if they notice that they're going to ask the student right then and there, call someone that is supporting you in the ceremony, call and get that money lay from them. Because we understand we don't want to ask school staff to hold on to those too. So that's the first line of defense, and then after that, if we need to continue, they have cell phones, so we'll just continue to call and get someone to take that lay for them, and then they can get it after the ceremony.
Good, awesome. And I think I appreciate everybody's just kind of thoughtfulness that's come in this whole process, because it's a lot, and I'm excited for graduation. And I know, principals will be reaching out or just sending out information to parents, and if parents have any questions, they can obviously go to those principals, and please feel free to go to your principal, just out there for public, is because I think that's your first stop, is to go and ask to see, is this okay? So, thank you. Oh, go ahead.
Thank you, and I'll just respond to that. But absolutely. So the one thing that we know is the best communication, especially on an event like graduation, comes from the school and the principal directly to their community. But consistency is also very important, especially with these changes. So working with our communications department, ensuring that there is kind of a consistent messaging that goes to the principals that they can utilize for their communications, proactive with things like the lays, to make sure that we're getting that same message out to every community.
Thank you. Trustee Barone.
Yeah, thank you very much. As a little bit more than a couple years ago, I was actually participating in these graduation ceremonies, usually as reading or, helping to check the students, before they graduate. It was kind of fun. And of course, I actually served with one of the assembly members who kind of like spearheaded, some of the changes to ensure a lot more freedoms. Apparently, there's still quite a bit of freedom that's afforded to our graduates, but it's balanced out, of course, with the needs of the district to ensure a safe and respectful environment. I appreciate that. One question I had, so just to make sure, again, the one I guess the article celebration that's brought the most concern are all the stoles. Okay, so they can't wear any more than 25% of their body covered with the stoles, correct? That's probably a couple of stoles. But there's, if I remember correctly, there's no limitations as to how many cords and medals they can wear, right?
Correct. So there is a limit to 5 stoles. That was by a federal judge. And then there isn't a limit, but the cords are typically earned at the school based on clubs. So the school will have an idea of they have a list, and they can regulate it that way. But stoles are what has been mandated.
Are there any limits to the medals that are sometimes awarded? Not so much from the school, I guess, because schools and programs have them, but we have also like Beacon, right? They very famously give out their medals, right? There's no limit with those either, right?
Nope, as long as it doesn't cover more than 25% of their gown.
Yeah, I see some of the kids, they're jangling. I swear, I would tell them, hey, don't get anywhere near a pool. You fall in, you're going to go straight to the bottom, right? Yeah, it's fine. But, we celebrate, the achievement of these students, too, because I've seen them be quite, quite involved and engaged in their school and in the community, right? And it's their time to celebrate, and I'm pretty satisfied that the needs of the students are definitely ensured and in balance with the needs of the CCSD to ensure a safe, proper, and respectful environment. Thank you so very much.
Okay, now we'll go to our folks who are on virtually. Trustee Bustamante Adams.
Thank you, Madam President. Most of my questions got answered during the briefing, so I just want to say thank you to Mr. McPartland and all his team for helping our students get to yes, and so thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Cavazos?
Thank you, Madam President. I also wanted to thank Mr. McPartland and Ms. Grimm for doing such a great job of being able to find a place where we have consistency and that the students are able to be so proud of the clubs and organizations they belong to, and to have a very clear process that if there is an issue, that it can be addressed. So my thanks to them. They do a wonderful job every single year with the very complex job of our graduations. So thank you for letting us know about these revisions and clarifying them for us. Thanks.
Thank you. Trustee Esparza Stafford?
Thank you both. No questions.
Thank you. Trustee Zamora?
I just have a comment. I just want to thank everyone on the team for working on this. I think this has been a very controversial, confusing past couple years about this topic. So I'm glad we're all on the same page and working together with our community members as well to also get this off the ground. And, you know, to the graduates who might be listening, just turn in your requests now so you have enough time and we get in this system and program. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you. I lost the queue, but I remember Trustee Biasotti being on. There it is.
Thank you, Madam President. I had a quick follow-up. The day of the ceremony, just to reiterate, the administration does have the discretion to allow or prohibit certain messaging if it's deemed to be offensive, right?
Yes, if
Okay,
it falls
thank-
within that regulation. Yes, absolutely.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Trustee Johnson?
I was going to make a motion to approve this intent, but if we're ready for that.
We have public comment first, but I'm going to come back to you, sir. Do we have anybody signed up for public comment for this item? No. Okay. Trustee Johnson, I will entertain your motion.
All right, I make a motion to approve. This is agenda item 4.01, notice of intent.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I will second.
Trustee Biasotti, we have a second.
I will
Let's-
second the motion.
Let's vote. Trustee Bustamante Adams.
Aye.
Trustee Cavazos.
Aye.
Trustee Zamora.
Aye.
Thank you. And motion passes. All right, our next item is 4.02. Thank you, guys. 4.02, this is not an action item. This is the Superintendent Mid-Year Performance Report. So a few things I want to mention to the team as we open this item. We're moving into a mid-year performance report for our Superintendent, Joan Ebert. As a reminder, this process is rooted in the balanced governance model that we adopted from Dr. Alsbury's work. This research-based framework focuses on 3 pillars of highly effective school boards, which is informed oversight, strategic goal monitoring, and a continuous focus on learning and instruction. This process is designed as a growth model, ensuring our evaluation is an ongoing dialogue rather than a once-a-year event. Today's report serves as a formative check. Since this is the first time, and I have to congratulate the board for getting to this point. This is our first time that we've utilized a specific process for this. So I want to clarify the scope of this work. It's a status update where the superintendent will provide progress on our selected target goals, including data where appropriate. This is an informal opportunity for the board and the superintendent to discuss any factors impacting our agreed-upon goals. And we'll review the evidence provided to ensure the district remains on the right trajectory for student success. To orient us on where we are in the process, last November, we selected our 5 specific target goals, and we are now at the mid-year report stage. So the final scoring will be in November. Our role today is centered on informed oversight. We are not here to manage daily operations, but to ensure that the district's trajectory matches our established vision for student outcomes. I want to be very clear on 2 ground rules for today's item. This is a status update only. There will be no formal scoring or grading of the superintendent at this stage. That will occur again at the final stage, which will be in November. And then any discussion should remain high level and focus on our 5 targets. Our feedback should be limited to what is going well, areas needing improved progress for the remainder of the year, and areas requiring a shift in focus or potential recommendations for revision. So again, this is a check-in. I'm going to turn it over now to our superintendent, Joan Ebert, to share her progress, any unanticipated influences on our targets, and her recommendations for the remainder of the cycle. Superintendent Ebert.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board, members of the public. It is a privilege to present the mid-year report for the 2025-2026 school year. Tonight's presentation is more than just a progress update. It is a look at the foundational systems that we're building to make CCSD a destination district for our students, families, educators, and our community members. Before I begin sharing the progress on the mid-year performance, I want to take a moment to express my sincere gratitude to the incredible team that makes all of this work possible every single day. Across our district, our educators, support professionals, and central office teams continue to provide unwavering commitment to our students. Their work is not easy, but it's deeply impactful. The progress that I share tonight does not belong to any one individual. It is the result of a collective effort, shared purpose, and a deep belief in what our students can achieve. I am especially grateful for the way our staff has embraced change, leaned into the new systems and structures, and remained focused on continuous improvement in service of our students. I'm honored to serve alongside them, and I'm proud of the direction we are moving together as a district. As noted, this report is grounded in the collaborative framework jointly established among the team of 12. The progress is measured against 6 high-priority area goals, from which we have identified 5 key target areas for the evaluation cycle. As you can see in the timeline, we're currently in the April 2026 mid-year review, and this is a vital pulse check to ensure our actions are reasonably designed to yield the results our community deserves before the final report in September of 2026 and the final evaluation in November of 2026. So on this slide, we do have the 5 key target areas, and I'll dive deeper into each one of them. We specifically had our presentation on the Core 4 during the work session, so you will hear some items that are repeated, and they need to be, but we definitely went into depth last week with the presentation on the Core 4 and the work there. The overall district progress, and before we dive deeply into the individual targets, I want to make sure that we acknowledge the broader state of our organization. The data on this slide represents a district that is stabilizing, growing, and regaining the trust of the community. First, our primary mission, academic achievement. We saw 136 schools improve their star ratings this year, combined with a graduation rate that climbed to 86.6%. That is the highest of the 2 large urban districts, higher than Washoe County, and it is also a higher graduation rate than our charter schools. So we are proving that our high standards are yielding positive outcomes. We cannot achieve student success without highly qualified teachers in every single classroom. And so in the first time in over a decade, we began the school year with over 16,000 classrooms staffed by licensed educators. This allows us to shift our focus from recruitment to retention. Our operations have also reached a new level of maturity. On the first day of school, only 3% of our campuses experienced a major operational hurdle, and every single one of those was resolved within 24 hours. We're taking strategic steps to ensure school operational concerns do not disrupt learning in the classroom. And perhaps the most telling metric is the $15.8 million in philanthropic gifts we've secured this year, highest ever. Private donors and community partners don't invest in stagnant systems. They invest in organizations on the move. This funding, alongside a 10% jump in communication satisfaction, shows that our community is beginning to see and feel the progress we are making. Finally, we aren't just waiting for our students to come to us. Through the Bright Futures Walk, we conducted over 1,300 home visits this year alone. Whether it's supporting enrollment or tackling chronic absenteeism, we're meeting our families where they are to ensure our students don't fall through the cracks. It's truly been our mission to evaluate and listen to our student voice. Throughout the Destination District podcast, our CCSD Cares movement, and the expansion of opportunities for our students, as this evening, to present to the School Board of Trustees, these spaces create and lift up our student voices, who are the most important component of our entire system. So let's dig in. We have targets to cover. First, Target 1.1 is centered around the supervision and support of our pre-K programs. While this target sets professional standards for our administrators, the direct beneficiaries are our teachers and our students. We launched the pre-K teacher instructional leadership cohort, which currently includes 20 teachers across 17 schools. To date, we have completed 55 coaching cycles using our ERS-3 assessment used to determine the STAR level rating. This provides a vital formative data point demonstrating that our teachers are receiving the specialized technical feedback needed to enhance program quality in real time. As we look toward the next school year, we're transitioning into full district-wide standards. We will launch a 30-hour instructional leadership series and a formal implementation manual. This ensures that we have a CCSD standard consistency across all of our pre-K classrooms. I'm happy to report that we've added 500 seats, which I've reported earlier this year. And then last week, as noted, next year we'll be adding an additional 1,720 seats for our pre-K students. We also received a $2.2 million infrastructure grant from the Nevada Department of Education, and we're excited that, to learn that we will also shortly be receiving another letter to expand that amount of money and funding for classroom expansion. Our Target 2.2 is all about providing rigorous literacy support to students who need it most. This year was focused on identifying students in the lowest quintile of achievement and moving them to intensive evidence-based support. We currently operate 39 reading skills centers, which provide small group tutoring in reading comprehension, fluency, vocabulary, and phonics. The data is definitive. For English limited proficient students, these centers have showed a 14 to 48% higher growth than their peers, while our English learners saw a gain of 15% to 38%. This proves the model is designed to close the achievement gap. I'm going to take a moment here, and my staff is probably going to go, it's not in your talking points, but that's okay. What's important about these reading skill centers is that, and it helped drive the funding model that we have today, with Zoom schools and Victory schools, it was a point of, the legislature and the governor and community saying, well, we are giving you money, if we give you more money, will you have student growth and achievement? Yes, this was demonstrated back over 13 years ago in 2013, 2015, and so that was the first bump in funding, and it was the first time that the Clark County School District ever on the NAEP, which is the national assessment, so we're comparing ourselves to people in other states with the same test. It's the gold standard for testing, and it was the first time that we hit the national average. And so now expanding that across the district to make sure that we really target our students that have the steepest climb, we should see more gains at a faster rate, right? We've been making improvements, but we need to increase the speed with which we move forward and the work that we do. So we're providing direct coaching for 180 elementary schools. That's a 109% increase over last year. Additionally, 90% of the school teams that completed the full support cycle saw an increase in ELA proficiency, and we're seeing a direct correlation between coaching and site-level STAR rating improvements. By mid-February, we provided after-school tutoring to nearly 3,500 students across 104 campuses. This wasn't a generic homework help program. It was instruction delivered by teachers trained in the science of reading, which is the phonemic awareness, phonics, vocabulary, fluency, and comprehension. We specifically targeted all of those foundational skills to close the literacy gaps. To address our most persistent reading difficulties, including dyslexia, This last week, we launched the 95 Reading Achievement RAP program. This is a Tier 3 multisensory intervention that will be centrally funded for every single school in the Clark County School District. And next year, we'll ensure that every elementary school has a full-time qualified read by grade 3 literacy specialist. We're also launching a 30-hour literacy instructional leadership series for administrators to ensure they can sustain these gains long-term. For the third target, 3.1, this ensures that our central office staff support translates into high-quality classroom pedagogy. Our strategy centers on vertical coherence, ensuring that the math a student learns in 5th grade logically and rigorously prepares them for Algebra 1 and beyond. We're moving away from a fragmented site-based silos toward a unified district-wide standards for mathematical excellence. Something that started early on and the team is very proud of is the Mathematics Instructional Leadership Institute, or MILI. It's our primary vehicle for this change. The data from our most recent cohort is compelling. 81% of our schools whose administrators participated in Project MILI demonstrated increased student achievement in mathematics. So we're standardizing the how of math instruction. We launched the secondary mathematics course progressions, grades 6 through 12, the elementary enrichment framework to ensure students are challenged at every level. Furthermore, we've updated our teacher clarity guides with specific language supports developed in collaboration with our English Language Learner Division to ensure that our 60,000 plus multilingual students have full access to complex math concepts. Our educators are leaning into this work, and we've seen a 36.2% increase in completion rates for secondary mathematics professional learning, and this represents over 1,600 staff members who are voluntarily refining their craft to better serve our students. The most significant shift for next year it will be the implementation of the district-developed common semester exams for grades 6 through Algebra 2. So the first time in a long time, we'll have a common measure across all of our secondary courses, and it doesn't matter the zip code. We want to make sure that instruction and outcomes, student outcomes, are the same. For target 4.1, our commitment to pathway to readiness. We're moving away from a model where student placement is a matter of chance and toward a system where it is a matter by design. By strengthening our professional learning communities, or PLCs, we're ensuring that our AP and CTE courses are supported by unified, high-quality instructional standards across the entire district. We've introduced master scheduling self-assessment tool that allows leadership teams to evaluate their schedules. Our efforts in AP placement are yielding national-level results. The Silver State AP Summer Institute hosted over 500 educators and achieved the highest participant feedback ratings in the nation. This isn't just about teacher satisfaction, it's about ensuring our AP instructors have the most current research-based strategies to drive student success. For our career and technical education teachers, we've established specialized CTEs. As you know, in most school buildings, they are one of a kind. If it's a welding teacher, there's only one welding teacher in the building. And so gathering all the teachers together across the school district that teach those specialized programs and making sure that they have the new CTE pacing guides have allowed us to expand our programs, specifically in welding, nursing, and at one school is making sure that they are the same across the entire district. By building these specialized professional communities, we're ensuring that our teachers, and they're feeling it, it's come in our surveys, that they are not working in isolation. And then finally, our target 5.1, the Destination District Initiative is a fundamental shift in how we listen and lead in the development of our strategic plan. We didn't just ask for feedback, we designed a process that was intentional to engage our entire community. The response was staggering. Nearly 48,000 surveys in over 130 languages with 63% of the voices coming from our students. But we didn't stop there. We continued, and I think many people I know in the audience participated in our community dream sessions across the entire valley. These weren't just presentations. They were high-energy work sessions where over 1,000 community members helped us define our goals. This level of community engagement has led us to securing significant philanthropic gifts this year. I noted the 15 million, but I want to be specific with our 6.5 million in private contributions, specifically for innovation in our pilots. These funds are going to allow us to test cutting-edge programs without touching a single dollar from the general fund. Our partners are investing because they see a clear community-backed direction for CCSD and how this plan is being developed. This final slide marks the shift from listening to action. We're strengthening operational excellence with the first comprehensive district-wide efficiency study since 2011, designed to ensure our resources, systems, and structures are aligned to maximize impact for our students. To support these goals, we launched the Building Brighter Futures, which is the district's facility master plan to ensure our spaces reflect the needs of modern instruction and student success. Finally, our co-designed strategic plan is not a static document, but the beginning of focused, measurable work, and in May, we'll present the final plan with clearly defined performance outcomes and public accountability. We've set an ambitious goal to become the destination districts that students, families, and educators choose because they see what's possible here. We presented the progress to you tonight on improving academics, ensuring students graduate prepared for a bright future, and partnering with our community to achieve our shared vision. Together, we are ready for the destination. As I conclude this mid-cycle report, I want to bring us back to the reason we do this work. Behind every percentage point, every new pre-K seat, and every industry tour, there is a student whose life trajectory is being changed. I want to thank this board for your partnership in establishing the framework that guides this work. We are truly a team of 12, and we're building a future that Clark County can be proud of, and I'm honored to lead this team through the next phase of our journey. And with that, Madam President, members of the board, community, I'm happy to take any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Superintendent. This was phenomenal. I'll open it up to my colleagues and before I talk. Trustee Barone.
Yes, thank you very much. I think it's always hard when you have an employee to kind of like give themselves a report card, and so it's kind of like a report card here, right? I guess the one thing that I will say that I'm most impressed, and it's really a tribute to your leadership, is quite frankly your supporting cast. You have two deputies who are in their own right. If, Lord forbid, anything happened to you, they could probably step right in, right? And they're qualified to lead this or any other. I better not give them too many ideas, because, you know, they might like take off on us, right? But beyond that, you know, your CFO, you hit it out of the park with him, you know, and he's brought a lot of order to what not that long ago was considered, you know, to a department that was being criticized for a disastrous, you know, few months there that required the state to intervene. And he's brought order, and he's brought a certain understanding for us to understand what he's doing with his team. And I think we can point to other high-level hires that you've done, right, to really, you know, that really round out the experience. And I understand you still have more hires to go as people tend to cycle out and retire, you know, and of course, we can kind of like, it's an ongoing thing to judge you on that. But of course, you know, there's a lot of other things that they give the accolades on. I'm really impressed. On a personal thing, on a personal level, I think I have not made it a secret that I have, of course, a 3-year-old who is deaf. And just this last week, he started school, you know, first day. And I tell you what, by the third day, he didn't remember to say bye to Dad. He was just hauling butt right inside, and a little backpack behind him, taking off inside. And then just today, we put him on a bus. And again, he's great. What the public doesn't know is, when I spoke to you about the program that he's in, right now we only have two sites at that. But as I understand, for next year, there's going to be a 100% increase to a total of 4 sites, which, reflects, I think, the expanding of services within the framework that we have, which is really remarkable, because we're talking about a really specialized program that is unique. I don't think there's any other types of schools, I'm not going to say the other types of schools, right, that have this kind of framework, and you can only find it in our district, the destination district, and that should be another commendation. I commend you also, for you and your team, working to have a negotiated agreement with our largest bargaining group, something that hasn't happened in a long time. And with that negotiated agreement, right, there was we could get past that and get down to the business of teaching, right? Because again, our employees, they were secure in their jobs for this year, right? And they didn't have to worry where that was coming from. And so I really commend your team for the work that they've had working with our bargaining group. And of course, I also commend the bargaining group for coming with us. And together we staffed, again, the city of North Las Vegas and the east side were the parts of the valley that were least likely to have a qualified teacher in front of their children, and you solved that. You got down to brass tacks and got it done with our bargaining group. That is making, I think we're going to be seeing dividends. Now, I guess for me, and also I'm very impressed with the parent and guardian perception going up. Again, that's always a big deal, right? Because of course, again, when I announced to a few of my fellow electeds that I had been appointed to this board, although I haven't said too often, I had some of them laugh in my face. You're not going to be able to get anything done over there. Well, I'll look at the camera right now. We're not laughing now, are we? Right? We're in a better place today than we were a couple of years ago. Okay? Is it perfect? No, of course not. But I think we're on the right path. And a lot of it has to do with your leadership and the leadership of our new board, working together with your executive team and our bargaining groups. Okay? So you may not like it, but I'm putting the challenge back out to you, right? Just watch us. We're going to get better. Okay, we're gonna get better. Again, things are not perfect, so I will put a couple of things here. I think messaging is really important. The Facility Master Plan is a plan that I believe will address a few of the realities that we're experiencing, but will take us to a new future. And it doesn't have to be a zero-sum kind of game. I do believe it's something that we have to do. Earlier today, I might have attracted the ire of some of my colleagues on a different board because I believe that we have a fiduciary responsibility. We have to make, we have to be able to live within our budgets, and we have to be able to make sometimes some hard choices going forward because that's what the public expects from us, okay? So, and knowing just how important that is, I'll be very interested to see how the messaging gets out for our community to actually come in and give us a nice barometer of where we're going. And I think a lot of it has to do with getting enough parents, parents of children. They are, I think, our prime audience that we have to bring in. Yeah, we have stakeholders, there's public leaders from all over the place, right? Different leaders. But I think the main people that we should be bringing in are our parents and the children, wherever possible, to gauge what their perception of the direction that we're going, especially with this, with our Facility Master Plan. So for me, I know I will be very, very interested, although it may or may not be part of what we're looking for, that's what I'll be looking at, because always the most difficult thing is getting the word out. Getting the word out, getting engagement from our primary clients. Our clients are the community, are the children that we're serving, right? And I see good things, right? that would be like my constructive criticism to as together as a board, are one employee. And I might have people who maybe agree or disagree, but that is my criticism at this point for what it is. Thank you very much.
Trustee Biassatti.
Thank you, Madam President. Just wow. I know that we said before, sometimes we'd like to see the media line these aisles, and it's times like these when I would appreciate them seeing this information, seeing the progress, and putting that message out to the community that we're coming a long way, and it looks like a lot of progress on the horizon. And as a parent, it's very reassuring to see the team that you put together. So I want to say thank you for that. My favorite in what you mentioned was the ensuring every elementary school has a full-time qualified literacy specialist. By when will we be seeing that in every elementary school?
So in prior legislation, it has been a requirement. The Clark County School District actually moved away prior to my arrival from having someone that has been identified as well-prepared to take on that role. And so this next school year, we're implementing that, where they have identified their skill set, and the principal must select someone that is qualified to serve that role, not just any teacher that's licensed, that may be a great literacy teacher, but it's, wow, these, our educators are amazing. And, the people that take on this Read by Grade 3 strategy role, are just another layer of cream. They are the best of the best.
Trustee Dominguez.
Thank you, Madam President. Wow, so this was really great. I think, I want to just really quickly say to the community, to our legislators, we are working so hard as a team for the better of our kids. We all want our kids to succeed. And so I really want to just say to parents, please take advantage of the tutoring available. Please take advantage of voicing your concerns to your principals, communicate with your principals. And the other thing I wanted to bring up was the strategic plan when, Superintendent, when you brought all of these community groups together, that is just never been done, I don't think, before. So really reaching out to everybody and saying, we all care about our kids, we all care about this community, we all want them to succeed. What do you think? What is your vision? And maybe we don't use everybody's opinion, but we gather them together and we kind of look and see what everybody's thinking. I really appreciate if the community really wants to dig deeper into reference B. I think I really liked how in-depth you went into it. And I appreciated your letter as well. But I wanted to ask you, over this past year, I know funding is a concern. I know Nevada is the lowest, almost nationally, in funding. But what are some other hurdles, maybe challenges you've experienced this year, and maybe kind of foreshadowing, maybe upcoming?
The funding piece, obviously, is huge. I mean, that's from day one stepping into the Clark County School District in 1990, right, to today. And we've made progress as a state. I was speaking with an elementary principal yesterday that, had shared and had remembered that our elementary classrooms would have, fourth and fifth grade, 35, 36. Their staff now at 27, 26. So they are the lowest that has ever been. They are much more reasonable than they've ever been. And so continuing to drive that number down and providing the additional resources. The work ahead, and I know you had a preview with the efficiency study, and looking deeper into, as a district, the Tier 1 instructional materials, all of the support, the expectation, but now digging into Tier 2, Tier 3 more specifically, but the student discourse. the level to which we are challenging our students and the engagement within each and every single classroom. I look to the leaders that are in the room. That's what they have seen. That's what when we start to talk to teachers. So shifting that, just being able to have the curriculum and the materials, but shifting the environment within every single classroom, almost 20,000 classrooms. So those are the pieces of depth and work that we need to move at a much quicker rate than we have. So yes, celebration of the progress. We haven't arrived, but we need to accelerate how we are attaining that progress. The big piece, and we've talked about it, and it's why we're doing, and again, thank you all trustees. I know many of you have already been to Facilities Master Plan event. We still have 30-ish more events to go to. Making sure that, because we're not going into that room and that space with, here's the answer. We are going into that space saying, what is it that you would like to see for your community? Is it maintaining the building that is there? Is it trading up a space? Is it combining, like we're moving forward, having the pre-K 8 schools? And so, we have neighborhoods, we have people, we have community, definitely want to hear that piece. And so the lower birth rates, again, working with colleagues across the nation that are in the same space, I feel that if we continue, the first round, some people were saying, you're going to close a school next year, and so they started teachers worrying about their jobs. That is not the case. We are planning 4 years out for those pieces. Also on the charge, making sure that our parents know how great our schools are. We do have parents, which I do believe in parent choice. I want Clark County School District to be the first choice. And in some instances, when I go out and talk, very first question I ask, oh, do you have kids? Yes, I have kids. Where do they go to school? They'll say a school. It might not be a CCSD school. So then my next question is, because I want to find out, why they were opting out of their neighborhood school. So my next question is, which school are you zoned for? And more than not, the answer is, I don't know. That's a problem, because they haven't even checked out their neighborhood school to see which may have the best robotics program right there a few blocks. And that, neighborhood, I just think of growing up myself, I was just right down the street from my middle school, neighborhood, kids, sleepovers, all of those things. And so bringing our kids back to our neighborhood schools in Clark County School District, I know the entire team works on that every single day.
Thank you for that, and I do want to give a shout out to your team, because you have surrounded yourself by a really excellent team, and so to me that's a great sign of leadership. But man, these guys are just the best in the industry, so thank you.
Trustee Johnson.
Yeah, I wanted to break mine into 3 parts because, this is an evaluation, so I wanted to talk about the, one, I'll do the areas for growth, because I think start there, and then we can finish on a strong note. I'd like to finish on a high note. And then also I had 2 questions. Area for growth, in I guess it was point number 6, which was continuous opportunities for engagement. One of the things that I think we can continue, you touched on it just a second ago in your comment, but what we can continue to do, and it would be really helpful to see you drive more of, is making sure that the public knows where they're going to give input and where the decision-making happens. So, for example, when we were doing our start times, our community thought because they gave input, it was going to lead to whatever choice that was the greatest. They thought it was like a 1-for-1. And so if we can just be more, if you can help the team make sure they're more clear on the front end, here's what community gives input, because we're seeing that they want to engage and they want to be a part of it. And you just talked about it in terms of the facilities master plan, how people are showing up. And so making sure we're telling the team, community, you give input here, this is how we use your input, and then that turns into us making our choice. That'll make sure that everybody's expectations are really clear. Two areas of strength in particular I wanted to talk about. The focus on literacy and math, where the PD for teachers, I mean, that's just such a critical lever for moving instruction forward, making sure you all have done a great job of focusing on how the adults are being able to deliver strong instruction. The intervention for young readers, you named how many students have been gone to those interventions, but that's just an accelerator for making sure long-term academic growth happens. And then the common assessments in mathematics. And by the way, side note, I was at a city council meeting, I told them, don't call it math anymore, it's mathematics, so that's the new trend. But those common assessments in mathematics are really, really helpful to make sure that we can see across grade levels, across our large district, where the pockets of growth, how do we replicate those, how do we make sure that everybody's seeing that? And so great job there. And then the second thing that, I don't know what category it fits under because I think it's all encompassing, but none of this happens without building a strong culture, and you've done a fantastic job of creating a culture of excellence, creating a culture of inclusion. Folks want to be part of the team, and that comes from your consistent, deliberate, methodical messaging around we're going to be the best, here's how we continue to be the best. So I continue to I really appreciate the way that you do that with such energy and vigor in every space that I've seen you in throughout the time that you've been in this role. And then, all right, I'll get to my two questions. One, is there a way that we can use these foundational targets as part of the strategic plan? Because I think there's so much good stuff there, and I know you're building it, and your team is already thinking about it, but just there's so much good data that we have already. I don't want us to waste any of that. So that you don't have to answer that question. That's just a question for us to think about. I hope we can use it. And then the second one for us to think about, the second question is, are there opportunities for us to leverage that philanthropic money, the dollars that we've been provided already, to go to the legislature to ask them to do some sort of match? I know generally that goes in the opposite direction, but I think if we might be able to say, people are invested in us in this way, our community's investing, if we can continue to do this, can our government match some of these funds? And then that's a great way for us to continue to generate kind of a perpetual cycle of funding. So continue the great work. You've done a fantastic job, and there's much more to be done, but you are not scared of hard work.
Thank you. Trustee Barone, before I go to you, I'm going to go to our ladies that are on the call. Trustee Bustamante Adams.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Superintendent, for the amazing update. And I agree with you that it is a team effort. I'm grateful what Trustee Barron said, that as a team of 12, we chose the right person, and the school board trustees made a commitment that we would set this structure up to be able to give you feedback as you progress. So thank you, and thank you to your team. I have two questions and then two comments. My first question is on the pre-K seats. I know that we are increasing the number. My question is, what is still the number where the gap still exists, right? Because not all kids that should be in pre-K are. So what is a total gap number? That's question number one. Then on question number two, it's on page 6, and it has to do with the Summer Bridge. Let me see. Summer Bridge programming. I had not heard that before, but I'm excited because I am a byproduct of investments in Summer Bridge programming going into college, and that's what was one of the key successes for me. So if you could expand on that, that's on page 6, and it talked about launching a spring and summer bridge programming at 179 elementary schools. So if you could share a little bit more about that. And then the two comments that I have is that, one, bravo to you and your team. It matters who we have as a leader. The additional philanthropic funds that you have been able to secure for the school district, and I know that you have your sight set on even more as we prove to the community and to the legislators that we are a good investment for the funds that are coming in. And then my last comment is on the workforce readiness. The LVGA received a grant to do the comprehensive economic development strategy for the region. So they will be updating it. They're doing it now, and that'll give us better information of where the puck is headed from an economic standpoint. So I'm hoping that we could incorporate that information. And I know that LVGA just presented at one of your meetings, and just wanted to put that back on your radar. So the questions are, one, about the pre-K seats. How many seats are still needed for every child that is eligible to go? And then the second one is on page 6 for summer bridge programming.
Great, thank you. So in regard to pre-K, there are roughly 32,000 children that would be eligible. Now, what is hard to nail down is how many really want to participate to find that delta, because we do have families that they do have family members at home. They would like to be with their children until they go to kindergarten. So I can, tell you roughly 32,000. We this year offer CCSD 14,000 seats, almost 15,000 seats. We have another 1,700 coming online. And then we also have our other partners that, public and private partners that offer pre-K seats. So there is a gap between the 32,000 and the roughly 15 that we'll be offering within the Clark County School District, but it's hard to say exactly how many because not all the parents want to participate in pre-K.
Thank you for that clarity.
Okay. And then launching the spring, summer site-based skill enhancement pieces, we were very fortunate to receive a grant from the Nevada Department of Education to help with that programming. The principals at these schools will have, various components of literacy and mathematics. But they also will have the opportunity to participate in integrated programs, STEM, the arts, all of those pieces. So it is making sure that those students that need intensive support can do so, but then also making sure that there's opportunity to expand beyond the core academics.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you, and I appreciate your team. Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Cavazos.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Superintendent Ebert, for the extremely structured and detailed report. Really appreciated that, and especially how the different areas were broken down. I just have a few general comments and a couple of brief questions. I wanted to touch first on basically coming right out of the gate with focusing on the positive aspects of the really amazing work that are going on in so many of our schools. So many times all we hear when we are contacted is about the negativity, but as we saw at our Excellence in Education event not too long ago, the work that is being done in the schools with our students in so many areas is bringing us accolades all over. And so thank you for coming right out with that at the very beginning. I wanted to comment on a couple of specific things that I thought were really well presented. One was talking about the staffing and acknowledging that we're doing well, but that we still have some challenges, that are going to be facing us very soon. And, just acknowledging that we're going to have some bumps in the road, but that we are going to be addressing those. The other thing is the family engagement and the parental engagement has really, bumped up quite a bit. And I know that there are a lot of people that are very, very happy about that. everybody responds in different ways. So some people that might do well on virtual will not do well on, shall we say, in person. But offering these different modes of engagement has really made a difference. The other things that I was really pleased about was the science of reading, and also this is kind of like a comment and also a question where we're talking about expanding the Reading Skills Center. That's my first question is, will we be reinstating some of the Reading Skills Centers that were basically taken away before, or are these going to be brand new centers? And I'll stop right there, and then I just have one additional question. But I really wanted to thank you for the positivity.
Thank you, Trustee Cavazos. With the additional reading skills centers that we're adding on, that was a collaborative with Dr. Jesse Welsh, the region superintendents, our RC department, and specifically the principals to identify those schools that would benefit most from that additional support. I don't have in front of me right now if they were schools that had a reading center and now we'll be and it was gone and we're bringing it back. But I'd definitely be more than happy to get that list for you. But this new set that we added on that is funded centrally has been identified as those schools that need the most assistance at this moment in time.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I know there's going to be a lot of people that are extremely happy about that. My other question, Superintendent, had to do with, again, being very pleased about the CTE pacing plans. I think that's really going to make a difference. And I wanted to ask you, as we go forward, how do you see that even expanding even more to really, to reach our goals more quickly with the pacing plans and really making a difference for these kids that are really ready to go out into the workforce? I'm sorry, I'm a little bit hoarse.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think you're actually preempting some of our strategic planning work as well. So that's perfect. Part of the funds that the philanthropic funds, they are specifically looking at building, and I know many of you, Trustee Cavazos, and many of the other trustees, specifically want to see that pipeline. We have great pipelines in some of the areas. The team, Assistant Superintendent Gia Moore has done an amazing job, but the intentionality with which the workforce can open up their doors to our students. It was mentioned that we did have Danielle Casey come in from Global Economic, and she presented to us, and that was one thing that the team members said directly. We need to get ahead of these industries coming in. Our doors are open. We want to, have that path defined now and not wait until they arrive here in Southern Nevada, but as they're thinking. And I guess I will give an exemplar that we can lean in on is Haas Manufacturing. They are not even open yet today, but we have been working with them in my prior role. We've been working with them for almost 2.5 years. And so I think they are an exemplar organization. They came right in and said, how can we make sure that we have a future workforce that is ready for the jobs here, and how can we help you? And so that's the kind of partnerships that we want to start building as the economy and the jobs change specifically in Southern Nevada.
Thank you, Superintendent. And that was a great example to use. And again, basically saying to the community that, we are not going to wait until we are being crisis reactive. We are being proactive with our students and to give them every opportunity. And the last compliment I want to give you is that, well, not the very last, but the one for right now for my time, is I wanted to say that I really appreciate your listening to the trustees as far as bringing in just a wider diversity of groups, of entities from the community. And I am hearing from people that you have been doing that. I just wanted to express the appreciation to you and your staff at making the time. And I know that sometimes there are folks that feel that they're not being included. And I see that there has been a real effort to bring in as many different entities from the community, all our communities, as possible. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Trustee Esparza-Stafford?
Wow. Superintendent and team, you guys truly hit the ground running. There was a lot to do, and I will say, so impressed by, in the short amount of time, I look at it in actually four P's: people, processes, which gets us to the purpose of the work that you do, and then there's always the politics. So I will ask some questions that are really kind of into the weeds, but it really is important, because you really addressed a lot of the systemic issues, messaging, building trust, rebuilding relationships. And I want to echo what Trustee Cavazos was saying about really reaching into all parts of our community. So thank you for that. Let's talk about your people. Thank you for acknowledging and listening to the past. There has been some successes in the past with, practices that have been in place. So I want to ask you about the reading center specifically. You talked about Dr. Walsh convening a group of people, and so you're doing a really awesome job of making sure that the processes are pretty consistent and trying to yield, just across the board if a student were to go from one school to the next. So could you help us understand these new reading centers in the 25 locations? What would be their ability to collaborate with each school, or is there a cohort that will run through to continue to be able to share and learn from each other? Best practices.
Yeah, I'm looking to, there we go. I see the movement. I'm bringing up our reading center experts so that we get full depth in the response. And the wonderful Dr. Jessie Welsh.
All right, so thank you. Well, good evening. So I believe to that question you were asking about some of the collaboration. Was I hearing that right, Trustee Esparza-Stafford?
Yes, please.
Yeah, so a couple of things. One, we are also being very strategic in terms of the rollout of these new reading skills centers, along with some of the ones that we already have established that are in place, both through the Transformation Network as well as individually at schools. And so we are, similar to some of the other things that you've heard tonight, creating some more commonality in terms of how those are operating. And so we are working through our ELLD department that has that historical knowledge and expertise to lead the work in terms of supporting those reading skills centers and ensuring that there is some consistency in terms of expectations and implementation across both the new ones that we're implementing as well as those ones that are existing. Go ahead.
Rachel Solom, for the record. I just wanted to add, yes, that we have those procedures established, and then we also bring the teachers and the tutors together monthly for professional learning, so they can work together to continue to hone their skills and collaborate with one another, so that it definitely is a team effort where they can learn from one another.
Trustee Esparza-Stafford, do you have any more questions?
Yes. Yeah, I do, but I just want to really, I need to say this on record, like the common thread when I visit schools and I talk to people, boots on the ground, is they really want to collaborate. And what I really appreciate, Superintendent, is that you are listening and your team is listening and you're providing opportunities like this. I think people, really feel heard and seen, and this is going to yield, growth, which will grow to proficiency. My second question, thank you very much both for that clarity and all that hard work, not just what you put in, but what's ahead. I want to talk about pre-K. So I want to start with a little bit of an anecdotal story, which really is important. When I had the opportunity to walk with one of the schools, met a family, and the student is in a charter space by choice. And I asked, how did how did you not come to, like, as you mentioned, superintendent, to your own school? And they were definitely actively recruited by that space. So I'm curious about our 1,700 seats for next year. Um, what is going to be our active, or do we have a wait list currently of really filling those seats?
Let me jump in. Trustee Esparza and I can jump in on that. So, it comes in pockets occasionally in terms of where those seats are located. So currently with some of our schools in terms of where we have those seats, we do have some spaces where there are seats, but very few actually. The majority of our open seats are primarily within some of our special education programs, but that is intentional as we are identifying students throughout the year and getting those students into some of those programs there. And so, as we're looking at rolling out those additional seats, we've obviously been very strategic in terms of what schools we're offering those seats at, based on where we see that there are folks that are on wait lists, so that we anticipate that there is, more demand than there is availability.
Thank you for that clarity. And, we try to do our best to watch across what other states are doing and other districts. And Dallas ISD is offering free pre-K. New Mexico is doing some universal. I think, Superintendent, we can do our part to try to really talk to our electeds. I see your vision, and the foundation is so important for us to start with them young. And so I just want to applaud you, the team. And again, there's a lot of work ahead. There's a lot of hard decisions that are going to come before all of us. But just keep up the good work and continue to lean on us on how we can support you in the work. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Trustee Zamora.
Thank you, Madam President. I also, have a lot of respect and congratulate the superintendent, the team, for the work they have been doing. A little bit, I want to say thank you, because I know in the first 100 days you had focused on expanding and strengthening the communications department. And that is important because, as Trustee Esparza mentioned, that these are people that are actively getting recruited for like pre-K programs. And I think expanding our communications, it's the time right now. We have a chance to take over the narrative and, talk about how great CCSD is in itself. So thank you for that. I know the comms department has been working really hard, and I always appreciate the team. I also want to take a moment to thank you for your dedication to community, listening to community. We have had a lot of community meetings. I haven't seen this since, I have been on the board. So many community meetings happening and surveys. I do always have the ask of our community to please show up, recruit people to show up to these meetings, because we are fighting, for these options, and they're there. So we really need to pack the room. The question that I do have is around pre-K as well. I know we have talked about leveraging some pre-K funding to develop, classrooms in some high schools. And I want to share that has been brought up in the facilities master plan conversations. And when it was thrown out there, putting a pre-K in a high school, people did not take that well. They very much did not understand the reason. So, Superintendent, I want to ask if you can expand a little bit more how that ties into this expanding CTE programs as well.
Yes, thank you for that opportunity, Trustee Zamora. We actually have K and pre-K at several high schools. And one of them, I believe, is 20 years old at the Northwest Career and Technical Academy. And that was by design. It's intentional. We have our K students, our pre-K students there, and it gives our high school students the opportunity to learn about childhood development, being a teacher. They go in and teach lessons. We have our teaching and training program with over 4,000 high school students that see themselves as becoming an educator, working in the education system, whether it is becoming a teacher or they want to work in HR, they want to be an aide, they want to work in the front office. All of those components of the Clark County School District are very important, and making sure that having a pre-K, there's two things, and I'll just pull out Western because we know we're going to put a pre-K program there at Western High School. There are not many pre-K programs in that area at all. And so number one, we are providing a pre-K environment for the children and families in that area. And then again, we are also providing the opportunity for our high school students to be able to teach those programs, learn about instruction, pedagogy, what it takes to become an educator, and then to move forward with that. So thank you for that opportunity to share why we are intentionally putting pre-K and K programs into our high schools.
Thank you.
Thank you. We do have some people in the queue. Trustee Henry, since you haven't gone yet, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you so much, Superintendent Ebert, for this presentation. Some of my questions were answered because, I'm a big supporter of 3K, pre-K, and all the things, right? And I do have a question on, I love that we are expanding those slots. And how are we going to sustain those slots? Like, how do we continue to advocate for more funding to be able to sustain
Thank you, Trustee Henry. The benefits that are gained from our children being able to participate in pre-K, setting them off with literacy skills, fine motor skills, socialization skills, making sure that our students, our youngest learners, have that opportunity is critically important. Moving forward with the legislature and making sure that they understand and that's what most of them ask for, is what is the return on investment? And so making sure that we have the data, that we have the success that we share with them with the programs, and then also demonstrating the need that we currently have. You go to other states that were mentioned earlier. New York has universal pre-K for 3 and 4-year-olds, right? We only serve right now about 11% in the state of Nevada. So we definitely have a large gap. And when you think about that and their future, setting the students off for their future, we want to build the future of Nevada. We need to make sure they have a great start. So 2 things: convincing our legislature through the data of success and the why. And then once we have those funds, making sure they know that they are being used effectively to make sure the funds continue.
Thank you so much. And also, I wanted to follow up on Trustee Zamora and your responses for pre-K being added to some of our high schools. I feel that it is a wonderful idea to expand those programs. I had a nephew who graduated kindergarten from Northwest Tech this last year, and also one of his teachers, or the aides that was in the classroom, she's now at UNR in their teaching program. And so we know that that model works and being able to expand it with fidelity is so important. So thank you all for doing that. I also wanted to touch on, since we're talking about like our homegrown teachers, I've been to the FMP meetings as well and hearing from community members, hearing from the community members who had concerns about, you know, they're talking about closing schools. And I know that we're investing so much money into home growing our teachers here locally, and we want to keep them. So it's not our desire to close schools. We need somewhere for them to go. And so can you talk a little bit more about well, you can, but we want to hear more from community members, like we do. So you don't have to answer that. Community, this is for you. We need to hear from you all. And please come to the 30-plus meetings that are left to share your voices so informed decisions can be made. And there was one more thing. Oh, you talked about recruitment and outreach efforts. When we're talking about our schools being the first choice, and you've heard from some parents who are going to other school options, how can we be more creative of creating those spaces? I know that we've had dream sessions, but particularly with those families who have opted into other choices, to share the choices that we have.
Thank you, Trustee Henry. So a couple things right out of the gate, and Kirsten Sear, as you know, has been heading that up, and thank you for allowing us to hire additional staff in that area. You know, we were on we have students growth, you know, people moving in. I still remember the year we opened up 17 brand new schools, right? So it wasn't that mindset of just being able to build schools and seat children. We have to shift. We have competition. We have people that don't know about our schools, to your point. And so the marketing of our schools, we are now putting together a website where all of our schools will drop in their information of, I have robotics, I have Girl Scouts, you know, scouting, all of the different chess club, the different I have Safe Key before school, after school. All of those components will be there on the website, and you will actually be able to, because we have open enrollment. That's another thing that we're amplifying, that we have open enrollment within the Clark County School District. And the team just is in the process of making videos, promotional videos for 14 of our schools that have vacant seats. I happen to know one of our amazing schools, Fertitta Middle School, has vacant seats right now. And they are, I see trustees nodding their head, they are phenomenal. The teachers, you know, you always go with my kid. I would absolutely make sure that my kid who loves mathematics, who loves robotics, wants leadership, attains a seat at that school. So it's something that we have not done in the past, the marketing component, and we've realized we need to. We need to market the greatness that exists within our schools, the opportunities that exist across the school district, world-class elementary, middle, and high schools that we have. And so, you know, getting that word out, making sure parents are aware of those opportunities, lifting up our educators as well. You know, compensation for teachers. You know, obviously, everyone would love to see compensation higher among many areas. But our average teacher salary now with benefits is $129,000. So that's inclusive of benefits. So we're compensating our educators. We want them to stay, providing the resources, smaller class sizes. Those are things that if prior superintendents who, I know I stand on the shoulder of giants that I can think of that have been here, did not have the opportunity that we have at this moment in time to think about all of the great things that are happening and marketing those out, which I'm excited to do alongside the region superintendents, the entire team. And quite honestly, it's the community, right? And that was the reason for going out with the dream sessions, because I want those people that are retired, Clark County School District graduates, they still live in the community, they're retired, they don't have any children. I still want them to know where their neighborhood school is, and if they want to go in for reading week and read to our students, if they want to help in building a garden there at a school, if they want to help maintain a garden. There are a lot of different ways that our community members can be involved in our schools. We just need to make sure that they're aware of all the opportunities.
Thank you so much. You already have my support. You don't have to uplift gardens so much. I got you.
Trustee Barone.
There we go. Thank you, Madam President. And again, I think there are probably a few other departments that I can note, but I'm going to try not to note them all because I'm afraid that I might give them a slight if I don't mention the other departments that I'm really impressed with, IT. So I don't want to single anyone out and leave someone, leave a department, But I guess the best thing is when we don't hear about certain things that are impeding us, right, things are going quite well. Anyhow, I just a real quick. I think I had asked a few sessions ago. I do want to know more about this rap, not necessarily the West Coast rappers or East Coast rappers. I'm talking about the reading rappers, right? I could bust out into a rap here, bust out some.
Do it.
Except for the ones that I know the best are probably not appropriate for this this venue. So maybe on a different time I'll scrub it and then come out here and I'll start busting out. They call me 99 Cent, right? Okay, I'll keep it. But anyhow, yeah, I like to just it's kind of a weeds thing, but. For the great importance of literacy, I like to have just more of a little bit of a working knowledge. Because again, sitting up here, it's really good to know as one of the policymakers what RAP really entails. So again, if I could have just someone sit down, maybe a little training for the rest for the rest of the board, because maybe I'm not the only one who's interested in this, right? So, but again, I know I have a really smart person who's a literary specialist, right? So maybe since you brought her up here, I should just be quiet and listen to her.
Yeah, Chief Sly Student Support Services Division has been very instrumental in acquiring these tools. And I was actually at a middle school on Monday where they were receiving the professional development, and they were so thankful for the tool and the training. It was very heartwarming to be in the room and to hear from our educators on how it was going just that day. And the principal also had noted that the 3 literacy teachers that were in that training from his school had been asking for a tool like this. And so, Chief Sly, if you'll take a moment, just briefly, high-level overview.
Thank you. Stacy Sly for the record. 95 RAP is really cool. It is a small group intervention tool that helps the teacher know what to do for each student. So the teacher will poll 1 to 5 students at a time, and the students are responding to things on their computers, but then the computer will alert the teacher and say, this student needs you to do this to help them. And so then the teacher can put the computers down and say, okay, we're going to practice this skill for a few minutes, and then move on to the next one. And so it's teacher-directed, computer-assisted, and it pinpoints the precise needs of each individual student that is using it. And it works K through 12. So we're super excited to have a tool that is also age-appropriate for our struggling readers in secondary.
Yeah, thank you very much. And like I said, that is definitely student achievement centered, right? So I know, I like, if I could, like a demonstration, because again, since it's a major shift for us, in the delivery of instruction, it'd be good for us to know about it, right? I don't need to be an expert, but I definitely wanted to see it. Wait a second. I know, I just remember one of my classic raps when I was a teacher. How about this one? When you go to every class being late, you really don't care if you graduate. Huh?
It rhymes.
Well, I don't get no appreciation on these things. Here well, thank you. Okay, almost a class. Thank you. Two snaps up for IT, right? Oh, and one last thing. I just wanted to say, as for the thing about having children, pre-K age children, right, in high schools. Sorry, we already did that back at Rancho High School. I know other people can actually vouch for this. We did that back in the 70s and the 80s, right? So, and it was part of the curriculum. So, yeah, I think we could definitely bring it back and have some high achievement there. Just saying. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Reading is fundamental.
So I'm going to call the question. This was a wonderful presentation. Thank you so much. I think that the eval isn't even until November. So to see this much work that you and your team are doing on a regular basis is, it's not just impressive, but I mean, you're raising money. Like, that's not something that that's not something we've really seen. God, I don't even know. On top of adding seats for pre-K, and you're just delivering on so much. So thank you, Superintendent Ebert. And I hope the media gets some of this. Like, this is all really, really good stuff. So thank you.
Yeah, I just want to, again, and I know you did, and every single trustee, those online as well, has thanked the entire team. And when you do start calling out human resources, Chief Casey always sits there very quietly in the back, and IT, transportation, you have Amber here today, who is just like, I don't know how you move 120,000 children every single day with such grace. And then you have experts, the experts that presented to you last week. SAS's, Kevin was up here. Anna has been, she's one of the newest team members, helped put this presentation together, making sure that everybody is sharing their greatness every single day. And then, the top over here at the right, Miss Carmen always sits so quietly. Yes, we're going to get a Miss Carmen today, the two deputies and chief here. And it is a team. I mean, Joe, helps out immensely in the entire organization. And I opened up with, it is all of us. And so I will close with, it is all of us. And I'm thankful that the us that we have are doing amazing work.
Thank you. Well, that closes out 4.02. Before I open 4.03, does anybody need to do a public speaker card? Yep. So we have them right up here at the front, ma'am. She'll help you. Well, she'll help you fill out the card, and we'll make sure that we call your name at the end when we do public speakers. Thank you so much. All right. 4.03, yes, ma'am. Oh, our meetings are not till 6. Yeah, so 4.03, fiscal year 2027 tentative budget. This is an action item. So we will hear from our CFO and his team at this time. 4.03C. Perfect. Thank you. Floor is yours.
Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Ebert, I'm Justin Dayhoff, Chief Financial Officer, here to present the district's fiscal year 2027 tentative budget. We prepared this presentation of the tentative budget to provide you with an overview of it as presented in required state forms. Along with this presentation, you will find those state forms included as reference 4.03B and a summary of staff recommendation to approve the amended final budget, to approve the tentative budget, accompanied by a summary of changes from the current budget cycle, which was fiscal year 26 amended final, included as reference 4.03A. Please also note that reference 4.03D is a Spanish version of this evening's presentation. I'll now hand over the presentation to Diane Bartholomew, Deputy Chief Financial Officer, to go through the budget development process before I dig into the numbers.
Evening. Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Ebert, Diane Bartholomew, Deputy CFO for the record. The presentation this evening is designed to give you an overview of the fiscal year tentative budget. During our overview of the budget development process, we will indicate for you how the tentative budget fits into the annual budget cycle, requirements for the development and submission of the budget, and provide an overview of the documents you are approving. We'll give you some details as to the development timeline for the tentative budget and how this budget compares to the amended final budget, which you approved in December. We also share with you some high-level details and comparisons as they relate to the district's general operating revenues, general operating expenditures, and including how those changes impact the budgeted unassigned ending fund balance. The budget development process includes a series of activities involving collaboration between the budget team, division heads, and school leaders. Principals and division heads determine their budget needs. The budget team summarizes needs and prepares the tentative budget for consideration by the superintendent and presentation to the board for approval. Each fund is balanced and reflects the budget team, division, and school leaders' best projections of the funds we may expect to be available to us and the purposes for which those funds will be used to support district responsibilities and priorities. Fiscal year 2027, or the fiscal year ending 2027, runs from July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2027. We are nearing the beginning of the district's budget cycle. The district is required to submit a tentative budget in mid-April. This budget is developed using layers of projections. Expenditures for the current fiscal year are not known yet, as the year is still in progress, so projections for current year expenditures are calculated. Student enrollment is not known, so projections for enrollment are also calculated. You can see on this slide that our work begins well in advance of the start of the fiscal year on July 1. The board will see this tentative budget for review today, and then very shortly, we'll see the final budget in May for approval. Both of these budgets rely on projections. And remember, that final budget is not actually the final budget. Once the current fiscal year 2026 closeout processes are complete, the district develops that amended final budget, by which time we have actual expenditures and actual revenues, with which to develop the amended final budget for fiscal year 2027, which will then be in progress. The amended final budget is required by NRS to be submitted before January 1st to the Nevada Department of Taxation. After approval, the district implements the amended final budget. The board continues to review and approve expenditures and transfers through June 30th, and we will present the audited actual information for fiscal year 2026 in November. You can see the annual budget development and accounting cycles overlap and how each year's budget and actuals inform the development of future budgets. Okay, let's begin. So there are 4 primary requirements for the development of the budget. First, we have to prepare and document the information that is then documented on required state budget forms. We then have to present those forms to the board for approval and then submit those forms to the Nevada Department of Taxation. For fiscal year 2027, the due dates are listed here. We submit tentative budget by mid-April. Final budget must be submitted by June 9th, and then amended final by December 31st. In fulfilling the first requirement to prepare the budget department the document budget information, the team has prepared and documented projections for revenue and other resources, projected expenditures, and any other required information. In fulfilling the second requirement to document the information on state budget forms, the Department of Taxation requires that we budget based on two fund types, governmental and proprietary funds, and we'll go over that shortly. And requirements for 3 and 4 as noted on the slide. Okay, so this slide provides for you a listing of the funds that we report in the state forms, again reference 403B. You'll see on the bottom left corner of the slide a state forms reference. We have included these to allow you to cross-reference the actual forms with the overview we are providing in the presentation. We have attempted to align the order of information and the language on the slides with the order and language within the state forms to ease that cross-reference as well. The district's entire budget are represented in the materials provided for you tonight, and you will find revenue and expenditure detail for each fund within the state forms. I'll walk you through those forms to orient you to the information. As you look to the state forms, you can find the budget cycle, fund, and document title on the bottom left corner of each form, with the remainder of the form consisting of lists and tables of the actual budget information and calculations being submitted. I want to know, is that this slide right? It's a little blurry due to this being a sample. Okay, I'll walk you through the state forms as efficiently as possible. Again, that's reference 403B. So page 4 of 132 is Schedule B1, Enrollment and State Funding Formula. This page is the foundation of the entire operating budget because it calculates how much the state of Nevada is legally required to fund the Clark County School District. For fiscal year 2027, the state finalized the adjusted base per pupil amount at $9,572, applied to a weighted enrollment of 274,242 students. That produces total adjusted base funding of $2.63 billion. When weighted funding for at-risk students, English learners, and gifted students is added, along with local special education support and transportation, total state education funding equals $3.610 billion. Every instructional staffing decision, program allocation, and reserve calculation that follows is driven by this page. So now page 5 of 132, Schedule AA, All Funds Budgeted Resources. This page aggregates every revenue source across the district, across every fund. For fiscal year 2027, CCSD's total budgeted resources equals $9.367 billion. After removing interfund transfers to avoid double counting, the district's net authorized spending equals $8.514 billion. This tells the public not only how much funding supports schools, but also the scale of CCSD as a financial system, including operations, capital, grants, and enterprise funds. So pages 7 through 8 of 132, these pages show that general fund operations are overwhelmingly dependent on state revenue. Local revenue sources such as fees, rentals, donations, and investment income collectively represent a small fraction of total general fund resources. CCSD is primarily a state-funded school system with limited local revenue flexibility. This is why enrollment, state formula changes, and legislative actions have an immediate and material effect on the district. Pages 9 through 17 of 132 for the general fund expenditures. These pages show how general fund dollars translate into real operations. Here we can also see plainly the district remains primarily
instruction-driven operations continue to require a very large system-level infrastructure, and personnel costs continue to be the largest district operating expenditure. Pages 18 through 24 of 132, this page shows the district's operating position and the structural burden of special education. Sorry about that. Special education expenditures are projected to increase $39 million, and $35.8 million of that increase is supported by additional general fund transfers, reflecting the continued divergence between state funding and mandated service costs. Page 100 is the debt service fund. This page shows the district's legal authority to collect property tax revenue to repay outstanding bonds and debt. It confirms that dedicated revenues are sufficient to meet scheduled debt obligations for fiscal year 2027. This page is directly reviewed by bond rating agencies and determines whether future borrowing remains affordable. And now, with all that information, I will turn your attention over to the CFO, Justin Dayhoff, and he'll explain the numbers.
All right, good evening, trustees. Again, Justin Dayhoff, CFO for the record. I'll take you through the remaining financial pieces of the budget in these remaining slides. Starting with our all funds here, these are all funds that are budgeted to the district. As mentioned earlier, you're seeing information that lists each of our funds for fiscal year 2027. That's the July 1st, 2026 through June 30, 2027. The complete district budget is over $8.4 billion. All of these reflected in the state forms that follow by expense. Again, what we'll be talking about here with regard to this slide at first, we'll be going over money in, revenue first, and then we'll talk about money out, expenditures next. On the general fund side, the general fund at nearly $4 billion is the main operating account of the district. It includes four main sources. As Deputy CFO Bartholomew just noted, their state sources are the largest driver of our revenue. That includes the State Education Fund, or the Pupil-Centered Funding Plan, or PCFP, which includes base funding, transportation, special education, as well as local transportation revenue. Our local sources, which include things like donations, which is growing this year, as noted earlier tonight, tuition, local taxes, and interest income. Federal sources here, which include federal impact aid. Okay, and noted here, these are not our federal entitlements, so this is not federal title formulas. These are local federal impact aid, forest reserve monies, and Medicaid reimbursement. These do not necessarily, as I noted, include federal grants. This is general fund. As you can see, by far, again, the largest operating revenue being state sources, over 84% of which coming from that source, and accounting for the other funding being only 16%, accounting for only 16% of our remaining general fund budget. Most of the state revenue is allocated through the Pupil-Centered Funding Plan. That legislation lays out both how the state allocates funds to districts and, to some extent, how districts in turn allocate those funds to schools. The special education budget is projected at about $787 million. This includes revenue directly from state sources, and it's supported by other funds with a transfer from general education fund or general fund to support, which includes PCFP special education allocation. All the other funding includes a general fund transfer of an additional $135 million to provide all the necessary funding to support students with disabilities. On the weighted fund end, this slide represents the allocation that we receive through the PCFP as well as additional transfers. Weighted funding provides additional state funding to schools for specific student populations, including English language learners at $195 million, gifted and talented education at $20 million, and at risk at $159 million. In entirety, these funds total approximately $374 million, which do include a small portion of support from the general fund. Note, please, here that at-risk portion is approximately $36 million less than the previous biennium's appropriation. Our opening fund balance is unspent funds from the previous year, which are essentially the school carry forward in these funds. On the revenue projections side, our per pupil amounts from the PCFP are allocated fully for the 25-27 biennium, and those revenue amounts have some changes from the prior year. These state education funding resource projections are based on the fall actual enrollment, 83rd legislative session biennium funding in SB 500, and current school year weighted fund eligibility. We have gone through our resources, the dollars in. Now we start to talk about our resources as we move to dollars out. So here first is our just general tie out. You'll see this in the state forms as well. We want to, of course, make sure that those two things do indeed equal each other. Note too as well, and I'll go into this on the next slide before we move into expenditures, that end fund balance, I know it's large and represents 25.7% there, but that's because that's also including, for example, debt service, which is the largest portion of that at $1.295 billion. When we think about our regular general operating funds, ending fund balance, that's that 166 on top. As we mentioned, the general fund is the main source for the operation of the district, and this illustrates how the significant majority of funds support position costs and purchases to maintain the support of our schools. Salaries and benefits continue to be the largest driver of our expenditures across the district, across general fund, and as you'll see here in just a moment, across all of our fund types. Within the special education fund, as I just noted, we also see that the majority of expenditures are projected to fund staff positions, in this case 97.5%, providing instruction, support, and transportation to students with disabilities in alignment and accordance with applicable federal law. Similar to the general and special education funds, here in our weighted funds, a majority are consumed by salary and benefits to directly support pupils identified in those corresponding weighted categories. And then, as I noted, and as we account and receive revenue, we receive revenue in often, and we also supplement revenue from the general fund into our weighted funds. This slide here reflects what those transfers look like. For example, although the district receives special ed, English language learner, and GATE funding, transfers from general still required to cover some of the costs in those areas. If you look back to fiscal year 18, one of the key indicators we look at to address fiscal health as we move into the next budget year is unassigned ending fund balance. And again, going back to FY18, you'll see at our lowest point, just under 1%, we were placed on fiscal watch. At that time, we had very limited financial flexibility and were operating in a highly constrained environment. And since then, what you see is not a sharp rebound, but a steady and disciplined recovery. Over the past several years, we've built our ending fund balance to approximately 4.5%, where it has largely stabilized. At the same time, I want to be clear about the takeaway here. While we are now above minimum thresholds, we remain well below, for example, an industry standard of 16.6%, which would be enough cash runway for 60 days. So when you think about the true end fund balance and the expectation that districts operate with, including ours, it's much less than that. Nonetheless, we have met the requirements and measures of financial health. We present to you a balanced budget. We have to make sure in so doing that unassigned ending fund balance meets two separate requirements under Nevada law and district regulation. It has done so. We present this tentative budget today for your approval, and at this time, we're happy to respond to any questions you may have. Thank you, trustees.
Thank you. I'll open it up for discussion. There's only a few of us in here now. Trustee Dominguez.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll go ahead and start us off. So I wanted to add, first, thank you to your team for breaking this down so well for us and to be able to understand it's so complex, and so I appreciate that. I wanted to ask, so there's two questions I wanted to ask for our cushion that we have for predicting enrollment coming next year. How do we work that cushion into the final budget and then the amended budget?
Trustee, thank you for the question. And I'll first acknowledge the Herculean, the daring, if you will, the Gryffindorian-like effort of the team in putting together the work for this, and my appreciation there. Trustee, with regard to cushion, we don't, provide cushion with regard to what we allocate to schools. We allocate absolutely everything we possibly can. At the end of the day, that's part of the, planned expenditures needing to equal planned revenue coming in. We don't withhold as much as we can of the PCFP, that pupil-centered funding plan. We use the district's allocation formula. We allocate it out this time based on projections. So what we do in the fall, once students come back in return to school, more students than we've ever had before this fall, of course, what we do is we work with our principals to reconcile our budgets at that time. So once we know how many students are actually in their seats in school, we then update their budgets, and schools will receive more or less depending on how many students actually show up, but using that same formula. So the allocation formula that determines that to the fall does not change from our spring to our fall. That's a new feature we actually built into the budget process with our principals this year in order to have some more predictability and stability for them as they anticipate any potential change, upward, downward, or both, heading into the fall budget cycle.
Thank you, and I will acknowledge, I've heard a lot of, compliments and also a little bit of complaints about, from principals, not complaints from you, but just kind of the projected budget that they are receiving, and they're, it's always a fear that they have going into the next fall as far as declining enrollment. So, but yeah, I've heard that you've been working closely with them and your entire team, so I appreciate that. My next question was a little more, and stop me if we don't want to answer this, but do we have a cushion for litigation, since it is a really frustrating piece of our job?
Trustee, thank you for the question. We address litigation spending in a couple of different ways within the budget. We don't, and again, we don't put cushion in for, anticipated extra, litigation. We don't hopefully we aren't getting, extra litigation, right? So the way that we assess risk and pay those costs of the districts throughout the district, we do in a couple of ways. One is through, we call it the OIM rate. It's a rate that's assessed directly into employees' paychecks, and it pays into the district's risk management fund, workman's compensation, et cetera. In addition to that, we actually worked with Ms. King, the state's compliance monitor, this past fall to do an updated assessment of both the rate and any additional direct assessment on the general fund, specifically for risk management litigation purposes. So we did that work. She recommended that we leave the rate the same, and we've done that, and that we have a confidence interval that we use to put a direct assessment on the general fund in order to make sure that what we have in potential liability, we have covered in terms of our budget plan, and we've operationalized that. We put that into place for the fiscal 27, this budget cycle that we're going into now.
Thank you for answering that, because I feel like it's so frustrating. Litigation is just very frustrating piece of that, so thank you.
All right, seeing nobody else in the queue here, let's go virtual. Trustee Bustamante Adams.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Justin, for the presentation and all the team's work on this. I do have a couple of questions. So, my question is, in the initial phase, when you guys are making projections, do you ever go back and analyze how far off the projections that you are, and if what the trend is? Like, are we over 10%? Are we close to meeting the anticipated projected amounts? That's question one. And then number two is, you talked about an increase in funding for special education, and my question is, do you know what the number of students that have caused the increase in the amount of students that we have to serve in special ed? So do you know the amount of students that have caused the increase for the students that we get to serve? And then lastly, on page 21, I think that's where I saw it, is the Medicaid, that fund. Does that mean that the reimbursement that we get for students who are eligible for Medicaid reimbursement, is that what that amount means? So those three.
Trustee, thank you so much for the questions. Justin Dayhoff, CFO for the record. If I can, I'll try and respond backwards in that order. Page 21, yes, the short answer is that is what we currently receive back from Medicaid. We do acknowledge that number, and to speak to that, that is an active collaboration we have with SSD and teaching and learning and across the district to bring attention and focus to how we can continue to expand our Medicaid claims and our capture rate, both in terms of the actual rate that we can charge for that on services and administrative billing, as well as the ability to leverage and expand service there anyway. That's money from the federal government for our kids, and wonderful opportunity there. With regard to special education, I don't want to speak specifically to the numbers, not having those in front of me, and I know I didn't ask Chief Sly or Deputy Welsh or Superintendent Ebert in advance for that. I can say, though, that getting a precise number for dollar to student to cost is different in one-to-one because there are 13 different disability categories within the Individuals and Disabilities in Education Act. Each of those can come with its own set of requirements. I mean, it is truly an individualized education plan, and so the cost per, even within IEP disability categories, do vary tremendously. And so, and again, you know, certain students with disabilities may or may not require different types of level of service components, staff to student ratios. And so absent having that in front of me, I would say having an exact dollar for student to increase in special education, it's not quite apples to apples. And trustee, on the first question with regard to budget projections, and I'll speak to here with regard to budget projections, forecasting, and enrollment. If you're asking about the demography and the work that the team within zoning does around that accuracy, I do know that they have over time had a tremendous accuracy level of, I believe, over at least 98%, but I don't want to speak out of turn, so I'll invite Chief Casey, if he's available, to speak to that. But absent needing to go there, within the budget projection component, we do not currently do the type of forecasting and reconciliation and multi-year projection that we really likely could or should as an organization or a district our size. We have a lot of room to grow, and I think that we are now looking at data and engaging in that in a way that actually for the first time allows us to do more than just the process of building the budget. We also have to start thinking about what is the analytic information that we can glean from that to inform decision-making, to inform choices, and then to also allow us to have information and track our progress. Trustee, I'll pause there. I think, I hope I spoke to your three questions there.
Yes, you did. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Trustee Cavazos.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Mr. Dayhoff and team, for your presentation and also for the manner in which you present it. I did have a question having to do with the NRS. I think it's 288.150, having to do with a possible reduction in force. But I'm gonna hold on that because I did not finish looking up the specificity of the question. So I wanted to go to something else that was mentioned that you did answer, Mr. Dayhoff, in our briefing, but I believe there's some questions out there in the public having to do with it, and that had to do with you kind of gave me a little bit more extensive explanation of the 15 million that was listed having to do with bus safety and, you know, what it was and what it was not. I wonder if you would mind repeating that, you know, for the public and the community.
Trustee Cavazos, thank you for the question. Happy to respond. As you and the board will recall, a couple of months ago, we created and established a new fund. That proper name for that fund, as established on our NRS, does make that reference. However, as indicated then, the goal of that is to create a place for, to park revenue, essentially, that can go and support, under the law, the police services for revenue associated with CCSDPD-issued infractions. That is not limited to, in any way, the school bus component of that. And so this, at the moment, is just a placeholder. There are no expenditures tied to that. It's the establishment of the new fund as we move that work forward in the future, but there is nothing tied to that currently.
Okay, I really appreciate that because I did have some questions on that and was trying to explain it, but you do a much better job. And so, as you said before, it's a placeholder and it has nothing to do with bus cameras or anything in that category.
Trustee, that's correct.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dayhoff. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Esparza-Stafford.
Thank you so very much, CFO and team. Diane Bartholomew, you've been amazing. Really, a lot of work has been done to work even with our consultant, Yolanda King. I want to shout out to her coming in to really help with the systems and the processes and really revising a lot of things that you just mentioned maybe we should be doing. We know that, and now we know better. I have three questions. I'll go straight to it. As we aren't just trying to balance our budget for today and for next year, but sustainability over time. Mr. Dehoff, I want to kind of get into the weeds. I'm looking at reference document 4.03 on page 2 of 12. And I'm curious because in our general fund, it talks in that first bullet point about that expenditures are projected to decrease by 106.3 million. Yeah, I'm curious about that and what is that a typical reduction that we've had over time? I'm curious about that significant amount, which is a good thing. I'll just stop right there. My first question.
Trustee, thank you for the question. I'm in the process of pulling up the correct corresponding reference document here on my end. But yes, so Trustee, one of the things that we see here coming into 2026 and 2027, we see a reduction in expenditures in part because we see a reduction in planned revenue. So first of all, regardless, we would expect to see a decrease there. And this is a general fund component, and so part of that is a decrease in expenditures there because we have increase in expenditures in other areas, like, for example, special education. So this page represents general fund changes only, not all inclusive of the whole budget. So the reduction in expenditures there is associated with 1, declining revenues overall as a district, 2, increasing revenues in other areas for which those are offset via general fund transfer.
Thank you for that. And you just answered the question. That would not be a typical, it's something that we're starting to see in the past couple years. My second question is, and it's kind of a broad one, more about us as a board. Like what systems will be in place for us to monitor budget performance throughout the year? Maybe what indicators should we be paying attention to if there's anything that would require like a mid-year adjustments, so that we're better informed in oversight?
Trustee, thank you for the question. I think one existing tool in your toolkit will be the existing reports that we bring every month on the appropriations and transfers. I mention that because that's going to be your first canary in the coal mine, your temperature check on how much of what we planned is a reality, right? A budget is a plan. Budget implementation matters. It's also one of the first indicators we have of whether and to what extent the district is continuing with its plan as originally put forth. So those transfers become a great place for us to see that. Now, many transfers are perfectly normal within the course of the school year. As cash comes in certain time, certain different ways and different funds, it's important to move things around. However, it also becomes a way to get a sense of, hey, what does your implementation look like? Are you implementing the plan that you set forth? So trustee, I think the first and overall guiding question is, are you doing what you said you were doing in the way that you said you were going to do it within the boundaries and guidelines that this board has approved for you to do it and assigned that authority? Trustee, on the systems end, hopefully we continue to think and forward and be innovative about what we can provide in terms of continued visibility and transparency, because spreadsheets are not presentations. And so increasing the ability for you as a board and the community to engage directly with this work throughout the year and to not have to wait for a budget presentation or these kinds of conversations is equally critical for us as a team.
Thank you so much for that. And that's kind of why I just appreciate your responsiveness to understanding that, it's like anything. It's almost like us getting a summative assessment. It's too late. We can't course correct. And you have not been that person. So thank you for noticing and really helping us to be better aware and what we should be looking for. My last question is kind of a big one, but it's like long-term thinking. When we think about how does this budget position our district for financial stability, maybe over the next few years, and especially in light of some of our challenges with our enrollment changes?
Trustee, thank you for the question. Trustee, I think one thing that positions this budget and positions hopefully this district and therefore its students and its families up for success is that this does include already many, many hard decisions that our principals have made, hard decisions that our communities have been making through these last couple of months as they build their budgets. We did this based on those projections for next year, in part knowing the reliability and accuracy of those historically, as we mentioned, but also so that we can continue as a district to be intentional with our spending, to continue to recognize that avoiding fiscal watch has ramifications for us on our debt side, which is incredibly important for us, stretching every dollar we can. Every dollar matters for kids operationally and in capital. Those two pieces, and as they're reflected here, I think position us in a strong place. Again, there will be questions. We have a new biennium upcoming, and we have much work to do in service of our children and families. However, taking that work up front, making sure that the tentative budget reflects those projections that should make for less disruption in the fall for our principals, making sure that they have now a budget formula that they can project on. Going back a bit to Trustee Dominguez's earlier question, in part, the power of having a formula that they both understand and can predict means that a principal today can wonder, well, you know what, if I'm up 10 kids, if I'm down 10 kids, if I'm even, can I at least have an understanding of what my budget can be? And as I do that, knowing what the district is doing, thinking about the training, the professional learning, the strategic planning that's going on, what kind of thinking can I be doing now, today, 6 months in advance, to know that I have contingency and I have the agency as a principal to understand that, to communicate that to my community, and to build that in service of kids and instruction matters.
I just want to lift you up to say that you acknowledged the hard decisions that were made by our site building principals, but I want to say that you also have been listening and really working in concerted effort with them. So it's reflective here. Thank you so very much to you and your team for all the hard work. No further questions.
Thank you. Trustee Zamora?
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Justin. That was a great presentation. I only have one question, and it's about the Medicaid money that's coming in. Can you kind of briefly talk about how those funds are being used in the district?
Trustee, thank you for the question. Right now, when we see Medicaid in the general fund, one of the ways to think about this, first of all, is this is one of the longest lags that we get in terms of funding back. So this is funding that we show as revenue, but it's essentially for services that were billed to the federal government a year ago. Some change over that, but we go through a Medicaid billing process whereby over the course of the year, as services are incurred and delivered, we work with our partner and the process that the state requires to submit both those records and the billing accordingly, and to get that back the year following. So all of that money, if you will, is money that is directly associated with service delivery and administration of the program for students.
One follow-up, if that's okay.
Of course,
Yes.
go for it.
So does it kind of overlap with some special education funds, or are these two separate buckets? I know they're written down as two separate buckets, but I'm wondering if they ever kind of overlap.
Trustee, thank you for the question. I would say where you could consider some overlap can be, sometimes the types of students who might be eligible to receive services that fall on or ultimately paid for out of either, but they really are different programs. When we think about our special education, federal IDEA at most, asks states to, assume, a share that no state in the United States does. Nevada the same. And so we take all this, the money that the Nevada Department of Education supplements that with, as well as the IDA money. That's when we think about special education. Those are the primary special education funding resources that we have. Medicaid is really going to be associated with the specific delivery of the services for Medicaid eligible children and families, and those can include direct supports and interventions only for those students, again, who have that eligibility for Medicaid. We do have ways as a district to increase the number of students who receive services that are eligible for reimbursement under Medicaid, and that becomes important for us to do as a district. On the other side of that, it also becomes important for us to look at how we can increase the rate at which we bill for those services, and so that we can increase over time that money coming back. Because while it's not special education funding, these are critical services for our kids, and it does give us the avenue to provide and to release other resources that we can then use to strengthen our support for students.
Thank you. I appreciate that because I was thinking about the early childhood intervention programs. So that's where my question was coming from. Thank you.
Thank you. Is Trustee Johnson on? He is?
Yes, I am.
Trustee Johnson, do you have anything?
I do. I have one question.
Go for it.
Justin, you mentioned that our reserve is, at this point below what the national average is, and I thought the national average, and maybe I was maybe I misheard, so I won't quote numbers. Anyway, if we are below national average in terms of our reserve, is that accurate? Did I hear that correctly?
Trustee Johnson, I think I would say that within K-12, especially within large districts, we are a pretty normal with regard to our EFB.
Okay.
With regard to other industries and even various or smaller districts, we are much, much lower.
All right. Then I guess my question still stands. Then, if we are lower, then do you anticipate that we will try to get up closer to like an average range?
Trustee, thank you for the question. The ratings agencies don't care that we're a K-12 school district. They expect us to have 16.6% in our budgets. When they come and look at our debt, they don't care that we're K-12 and this is our market vertical. They have a formula that the Big Four and all the S&P ratings agencies use in order to drive those calculations. We can use our statutory reserve just a little bit to speak to that, and we try to as best we can. It's one of the reasons that is an equally important number in our budget. But we certainly work to do what we can. The reality, I think, is that when we think about the PCFP and the intent, the dollars to identify how much it costs, what the optimal funding is per pupil to go to students. So when we get those dollars, we try to spend them all on kids, on their needs. And so we don't necessarily have the same ability to continue to hold and to hold and to hold and to set aside cash, because at the end of the day, it's not just about public expectation, governance expectation, but the reality that those are dollars that are designed by intent and mandate to go to kids and services.
And I appreciate that. I guess then my question is, what's the consequence of us not getting to that? Because we're making an intentional choice, and I understand the reason we're making that choice. We need every dollar to serve to help us educate students. And then there sounds like there's a consequence to some end or to some degree. Can you help me understand that consequence, like the trade-off that we're making here?
Well, Trustee, happy for the question. Thank you, Justin Dehoff, again for the record. I think the bottom line trade-off is ultimately the cost of debt. However, one of the responsibilities that we have as an organization is to work with the ratings agencies to make sure that they understand the position we're in, that they see year-over-year progress. And they do look at that. They see what we are setting a target, that we're meeting a target that we said that we were aiming toward, regardless of its tier on the industry standard. That gives us credit. So the directionality, and frankly, is what we saw, I believe, towards the end of the presentation on slide 26, speaks to that phenomenon as well.
That's really helpful. Thanks for the clarification.
Thank you. We have Trustee Barone.
No, I just maybe I missed it, and thank you again, Madam. I'll kind of keep this one short. Do we actually get any revenue from our bond sales? Do we actually get any revenue back?
Trustee, thank you for the question. I think you're speaking to the most recent bond sale from our 2026 B and C. Those totals are reflected here in the budget for next year. And yeah, we had a very successful bond sale, and we were able to do so at a time that captured the rates before a lot of the most recent market volatility over the last month or so. And we estimate that that decision alone brought in an additional $3.2 million in savings. But yes, we saved about $10 million in additional refunding for the district on the capital side, sir.
Yeah, actually, I think I asked that in a previous meeting. Again, it's bond rating is everything, you know, and I'm really happy that we've been able to maintain the bond rating that we have. Good job on saving the taxpayers $10 million.
All right, with that, I will close it out. I was going to ask about more reimbursement opportunities for Medicaid, but you hit it already. So thank you so much for this presentation, very in-depth, but also very understandable. Hopefully our folks listening in and those in the room could follow. I thought this was wonderful, and just thank you. It was a great presentation. So with that, we will go ahead and close. Oh, no, I'm sorry. We've got a vote. So at that point, let me see if we have any public comment on this item, 4.03. Okay, no public comment on 4.03. I will look for a motion to approve the tentative budget. Trustee Biasotti.
I would like to make a motion to approve the tentative budget.
Do I have a second? Trustee Dominguez?
I second.
Awesome. Let's vote. Trustee Bustamante Adams?
Aye.
Trustee Cavazos?
Aye.
Trustee Zamora?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. Thank you. Now we can close 4.03. At this time, before we open item 5.01, is there anyone who needs to turn in a public comment card? Once we open this, we won't accept any more public comment cards. Anyone at all? All right. With that, we will open 5.01, public comment. Our very first person is Janet Crosswhite. Janet, please state your name for the record. Right over here. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, trustees, and our Superintendent Ebert. My name is Janet Crosswhite. I am the CEO of Heavenly Smiles Mobile Dental, a mobile dental hygiene practice here in Southern Nevada. I'm also the executive director for Smiles Across Nevada, which is a nonprofit organization here in Nevada. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you again. My last time here was December 9th of 2022, where I came in explaining to the board and our community members, also welcome community members, fellow community members. I apologize for leaving you out. I came to the board to, oh, my time is not going. Thank you. I came to the board to speak about how we can partner up with CCSD in providing great mobile dental services to our students here, to also help screen and just detect any abnormalities they're having, also to improve their education. What you may or may not know that oral health does play a role in how one will learn. Especially right now in testing. Our kiddos get very nervous, but in actuality, these kiddos are home. They are battling different oral manifestations such as swollen tonsils. They have childhood sleep apnea that has not been detected because they are not being screened for these particular health concerns. What we do is we're not just here for teeth cleaning. Okay, we're here to educate. We're here to help prevent chronic diseases. Our state dental director has given me information about third graders in our state. I have it here, but I'm running out of time. So I can always email you guys that information, but I have been having agreements and disagreements with the board, not with the board, excuse me, with the health department here, Ms. Sherry McPartland. It's been a couple of times that I've been told that I can come and provide services, and that has been ripped from me with others' opinions. Before, I was told by Dr. Casa that I could come in, I needed to find funding. I found substantial funding to provide for care for our students, but I was not allowed to come in. The next time was, it was back and forth with Ms. McPartland and also the risk department on a new regulation that I needed to have a certain amount of $100,000 separate molestation coverage. I was able to find that coverage, which cost me $5,200. I was not able to use that coverage. I am providing care in Nye County. I'm their main provider. I'm also providing care in our charter schools. I've gone through background checks, and I'm able to provide. So I would love to follow up with this and, again, provide the services our students need. I had a grant to come in to do sealants. Unfortunately, again, I was not able to provide our students at CCSD that opportunity. I am also a CCSD parent. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Crosswhite. Next up, we have Ty Badger. Ty left, okay. All right, moving forward, Mr. David Gomez.
David Gomez, for the record, Nevada Peace Alliance president. I wanted to tell you guys something. I'm nobody's lordship, so don't get it confused when I come up here talking about God. The Spirit of God told me not to be timid for no one, and it told me to speak truthfully and honestly. But, you know, being on the facility master plan, not on the CCSD side, we got into a nasty debate at Rancho High School. I did. Most of the parents there were maybe attendees from a former meeting or some from the, maybe one or two from the community. I'm not saying that maybe the people are not reaching out, but I don't see it. I don't know what they're doing. But being part Hispanic, being black, being Caucasian or white or whatever you want to call me, Anglo-Saxon, doesn't matter. The point is that when we were in there, the consultant was obviously controlling the time, and they're like, we have time frames, we have time, we have to do this, we have to do that. So I went to talk to the principal, that's what I believe they call him that, of the consultant agency, and I said, you know, some of the people in my Hispanic culture are sometimes passionate because they feel underheard. They don't feel that, you know, sometimes some things are not said the way they need to be said. One of the other consultants told me, I feel offended that you would even say the word Hispanic. She pissed me off. I had to raise my voice and tell her, you know what? First of all, you can't take what's inside of me out. If you would like to do that, you can go ahead and go dig up my dad, take the DNA out of him, figure out how to get rid of it out of me, and you can take it out of me. And then we can go from there. Then you can be offended all you want because I said the word Hispanic. Just because I resonate with black people more, because my mom was black and that's the only family I had when I had only a donor. But, you know, I guess that's what they do. And that's how they do things. And that's how they want to operate their meetings when they don't have control over it. When they didn't have control, they got upset. That's appalling. And then secondly, I remember when we did have this meeting for our superintendent, some of the trustees said that it was very crucial that we pick her. And obviously, I'm the one that went out and talked to people too, like Tracy Lewis and everybody else. And I said, you know, this is who we need because we need someone that can hit the ground running. We didn't need no Ben Schuldiner, even though he was picked. I don't know why in the world you guys would do that. But anyways, now you see the results of what it is to be on the ground and know who the person is that is the superintendent of the school district, who went out there to go make sure that she ensured we are succeeding. Thank you.
Thank you. Janie Vegas? Janie? Yes. Please state your name for the record. Here, come over to this one. There you go.
Hello, everyone. Superintendent, Madam President, Board. My name is pronounced Honey. It's okay, it's okay. Vegas is my public. And well, thank you all for seeing me. And I actually had a few questions, but I'll try to cover it under the allowed time. My questions were mostly for Superintendent. I've been, attending meetings, CCSD meetings, zoning meetings for quite a while. I attended 4 of the meetings. I attended all 3 meetings this week, and I attended our meeting last week. Thursday was fantastic. There was a turnout. There was probably like over 50 people, mostly teachers. It was a smart conversation. It was amazing. Now, for the following week, it was a little bit more disappointing because when we're talking about the rooms were empty, we're not really mentioning the numbers. On Monday, which was at Dorado High School, I live in Soha. I drove 45 minutes to Dorado High School. That's how much this matters to me. There was less than 20 people there, and that's counting the staff, the chefs, the cleanup, the marketing company, and the attendees. Tuesday at Rancho, that table that Mr. Diaz is talking about, there were 7 of us, all community advocates of some sort, or community leaders. And the general consensus is like, how is the information getting out? Because you mentioned, surveys were mentioned. You said on your presentation there was a 48,000 number. The number that we were given for the surveys was less than 1,600. That was back in spring of 2025, right? So the question was, we've known that this is coming for quite some time, right? Like, this has not been a secret for anyone. Why is it that the rooms are still empty? And why is it that while we're literally on top of the program, we are asking the community how to get the word out? You guys, as well, you said, you got $15 million, which is like amazing. So you clearly have access to people that can get the word out in an effective way. Hispanic community, half of them don't even have internet. They don't even know how to use it. Right? So you're talking about surveys, and I love the website and all that stuff, but you're going to be missing out a huge part of the community that needs to be involved in this conversation as well. Because when we're talking about billions and billions of dollars, and you're absolutely right, there's a lot of schools that need fixing, and there's a lot of things that need to be done in Clark County, as well as targeting and talking about the real reason why enrollment is down, which is not.
Thank you, Ms. Honey. Thank you. And lastly, we have Mr. Jeremy Heckler.
Hey, everybody. For the record, Jeremy Heckler, and I have the honor of being serving as the president of the NEA of Southern Nevada. I'm here for what can be a nuisance for many members of CCSD, but can block others from being able to access and attend school or access the tools needed to educate our students. Anyone with a CCSD login is familiar with the reminder emails that come from IT reminding people to change their password every 90 days. One time I was vacationing in California during summer break when my renewal came up, and I had to call and have my SBT reset my password for me. This was a minor annoyance for me. But those with limited access to district sites or limited transportation options, this is a major undertaking. CCSD's strict password policy for employees and students require them to be connected to a district Wi-Fi to change a password. This is problematic for students attending NVLA who may not have immediate access to a school site, and employees who are vacationing, out ill, or not able to get to a school site to change the password. Oftentimes, an email reminding employees to change the password is not received. If there is a breach, the password is changed and the employee's student is kicked out of all district programs and cannot access anything requiring a password until it's changed. Mind you, during this time, the IT department sends out an email to said person telling him or her to change the password immediately. How can the email be received? The requirement is change passwords every 90 days is excessive. This is more frequent than required by cybersecurity policies of other businesses, including institutions that deal with FERPA and HIPAA. The district has enabled multi-factor authentication, which makes it more difficult to hack into accounts. Why are we forcing employees to constantly change their passwords? We're being reactionary to events that happened in the past, and we are not keeping up with technology. Multi-factor authentication replaces the need for such frequent password changes. According to cybersecurity policies and McAfee, a reputable antivirus protection company, modern security guidelines recommend that employees change their passwords only when there is evidence of a breach or compromise rather than on a 90-day schedule, as frequent changes often lead to weaker password habits, such as simply adding a digit to the end of an old password. Further, best practices use a minimum of 15 characters, usually a passphrase with MFA enabled, which is far more secure than frequent arbitrary rotations. Optimal time is, if a policy requires a set timelines, 365 days is generally considered sufficient rather than 90 days. We need to help our employees and students by making it easier to change passwords. Wi-Fi requires passwords to access, and VLA students do not have access to Wi-Fi at local schools. Employees may not have access to nearby schools, Wi-Fi to change passwords during holidays, weekends, or vacation breaks. We need to keep current with the times and not live in the past.
Thank you, Mr. Heckler. That closes us out on 5.01. Next item, 6.01, is upcoming meeting of the Board of Trustees, Thursday, April 23rd, 2026, 5 p.m. And now I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Trustee Biasotti?
I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll take a second.
I'll second.
Trustee Henry? Let's vote. Trustee Bustamante Adams?
Aye.
Thank you. Trustee Cavazos?
Aye.
Thank you. Trustee Zamora?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Motion passes. We are adjourned.